All right, we are back. Best puck drafting, as always, the only sport that matters, the very normal drafting in July. I'm pretty sure since I was drafting in July, Underdog thought I must have been either insane Canadian or some sort of a bot because they weren't giving me a location at first. So sorry for being a minute late, but we're joined by Billy Jones, Sports Viz BJ, to go over a bunch of Underdog NHL stuff over at Spike Week, which is really exciting. I mean, I always really like what Spike Week does. And it just, Spike Week should be all sports, just like all of these things, like fantasy life. Bring in all the sports. Don't just talk about football. Let's talk about real sports that are important and that are fun to watch. So, Billy, let me just start off by opening the floor to you. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing over at Spike Week.
Yeah, so I've been at Spike Week for less than a year. I've only been doing content for a little over a year, but this is my second summer doing it. And I love best ball. I play all sports. So, and NHL is one of the little gems that people don't know about, but it's a great game. And hockey and baseball and some of these sports that have a daily component, the traditional formats are really tough to play because you have to manage every single day. But a format like this is great because you get to be able to be involved, but you also don't have the burden of playing every day. If you want to play DFS, you can, but you don't have to. So yeah, you said that I actually just recently put our first ever NHL post at Spike Week out. We had never done stuff for that. We mostly focused on football and some of the other sports, but we do have a bunch of different content: football, baseball, basketball, hockey now, all best ball related. And that's what I consider myself, a best baller that likes all of these various different sports, just obsessed with all sports.
Yeah, and as I kind of talked about Noah yesterday, it's like 25,000 up top. Do you think you have a better chance of maxing BBM 5 or the NHL to get 25,000? I mean, it's just definitely hockey for so many various reasons, especially if you know what you're doing. And you bring a lot of math and a lot of expertise. And not only that, but you're putting it in a very, very digestible way, which is very important. Like, I mean, people, I post hockey viz from Micah all the time. People are like, how does this guy do this? And I'm like, I don't know how he does it. I'm just happy it exists. You know what I mean? So, and people find that really relevant for, sports betting, fantasy, and daily fantasy. And if you don't want to bash your head against the wall with the first two, get into, the best puck, where it's like, you can be right on something. And if you're right on it and it gets there all season long, like, it's a lot easier to be right about something over the course of a season than it is on one game. If you know what you're doing, probably the best way to put it. So, we'll pull up your article in a second, but is there anything else you wanted to mention about Spike Week? Or I don't even know, you guys doing promos? What's going on? It's best ball season.
I'm not the person to do that. I'm sure we do. We did just do a thing with Unabated Sports, and we have like a betting partnership. Just go look on the website. But let's look at the article. It definitely is like a lot of who I am as a content creator. I have a master's in data science, but I do that for work all day. This, for me, after work is like fun and creating pictures that help people understand what's going on. So that this was not meant to be overbaked. So just going through the basics from a data perspective. So scoring, we kind of all know the scoring. We can zoom through that. I think the first interesting visual is just this. And you can see how certain positions are a good bit flatter than others in terms of just like how they score in the best ball format. So this kind of just shows kind of more of a macro level of how that works. So we do that across two different seasons, and you can kind of get some trends where the elite centers are really awesome, but then it kind of flattens out. You really see the wing is very linear, so like there isn't the flattening at the end that you do from centers. And then goalies and defensemen, the early ones really don't separate as much. And this just at a basic level goes to show that. So do that across a couple seasons. Mm-hmm. I think this is just a good way to start off looking at how scoring is done.
Yeah, goalie was. I thought goalie was kind of interesting in this one, where it's like it was very linear last season, mm-hmm. and maybe not quite as linear. Like this, I mean, again, I think honestly, what it was more than anything is like I don't know if you played much 2 years ago, but I think we tethered ourselves to ADP a little bit early and kept it going with goalie. And then eventually, as more people got involved, I think we started to realize, and like, I think there was a couple of injuries too, like Leonard and a couple other guys, and things got really wonky. But I do think this is going to be very similar again. It's going to look a lot like this yet again, and maybe even more so toward like, I might be a little bit steeper. I don't know, but I did find that interesting with goalies, but we can move on.
Yeah, and so then rather than just looking at points, looking at advance rates, and the reason I do this is looking at like pockets of the drafts where players in general do better or worse for like team construction, because points is one thing, advance rate is a different metric that's relevant for best ball. And we see some trends where like middle round wing is really nice, and then late round defense hits pretty well year over year. Center is kind of like a crapshoot. There's a really more of like a bad middle range rather than like a great range. And then goalie was interesting because in the different years you saw something different. And is it a market getting sharper? Is it a different year? Is it whatever the players are? Not exactly sure. There is a visual all the way at the end, which is just like player advance rates to help put context if you ever had questions for some of that and wanted to investigate it yourself. But so this is like, so that's what that is. The thing that I think is interesting is just like the structural stuff. And that's where we have for years talked about 3-7-3-3 is the way to do it. And this kind of just shows a narrative in these sections here where it's like, we all agree on that as a community and move more and more to 3-7-3-3, where that becomes like the consolidated way we draft. And so it is the best. Is it the smartest? I don't know. Is it the smartest people? Is it the way? It's probably around optimal, but I'm sure there's deviations off of that. That also can work. And so that's kind of the point that I was showing here, is that you want to stay balanced. 3-7-3-3 is the way. There is a little bit of evidence that you can make some of the like one-off type of builds work, but it's not like, you don't want to get too crazy. But this section here I thought was interesting because it broke down like, okay, the front half of the draft. If you said, okay, not the whole thing, because the problem with any summary statistic is like, if you're talking about 3 centers, you could have gotten 3 early or 3 late or 3 sporadically throughout the draft. And they're not all built the same. So this went to focus at like the beginning of the draft. And there's definitely a little bit more of a trend here where like drafting less centers is really pretty dominant when you go early, drafting more wingers, and so on. So like there is it's such a like a, this is where I thought the edge is like we have like an agreed upon way to draft at like a macro, like the whole draft, but like the way that you start still wasn't being like consolidated around like what is the clear optimal. And so this is like if I'm going to lean into something like this is where I think it's like the edge may be in just a very basic level of like starting off the right way.
Yeah. So, yeah. I do agree. I mean, I definitely agree. And it's there's going to be more, I think, like you're saying, like just layers to the onion. And this was, but like the first article I ever wrote was like the pillars, right? I wrote this 4 pillars article. Most of them have continued to be important enough to keep in mind. Some of them, I think we fluctuated a bit and maybe gone away from a couple of the pillars a little bit more. They all still are relevant. This is that next layer where it's like, when you're actually allocating into these buckets, it's not just enough to say, I got enough allocation into the bucket. It's how much capital you're putting into it, which has been a focus in the NFL for a couple of years now. And now it's coming together. I mean, this is, again, it's such an easy correlation to, I had to get not just enough wide receivers or wingers, but when did I get them? And I was the proponent last year, and I had people that were like, you are an idiot. You drafted 0 centers through the first 10 rounds. Maybe I took it too far at times, right? But I don't think that, if you get out of, like, again, I was talking about it yesterday. It's like, where do I need to be out of round 4? Like, what is the scenarios that exist? And then round 8 and then round 12, like those different scenarios, and like making sure that I'm keeping a plan with all of them. And if I get into, 1 because of how I start, and the start is going to really dictate where this goes from here. And my biggest takeaway from this right here, this early centers, is you think 4 drafters drafted one of those elite centers. And last year it was, I'll show this next, it was very obvious that it was 4 centers first and then everyone after. One of those centers burned you, 2 of them absolutely nuked, and then another one was pretty much advanced around, not quite, but pretty close to what he should have. That really, to me, didn't show enough to prove that you couldn't go 0 through so many rounds, or that if you missed on them, you're not in good shape. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I know we got tagged in someone tagged us like, hey, like, you missed out on these centers, you're dead. I'm like, absolutely not. I don't think I've ever been more certain that you're not than after last year. So I'm really excited about what you're doing. I mean, we're working on the same stuff, and that everyone's kind of working together. And at the end of the day, if you have good rankings and you have good structure and you're able to not feel that burn, it plugs a lot of people in every sport. I mean, if you're drafting in any sport, I feel like if you can just allow yourself not to see, that quarterback until you need it, don't jump on a guy just because you don't have one, right? I mean, if you didn't draft T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, don't need to grab Burrow just because he's there, And in this scenario too, it's like, I know there's centers that exist. You might not have one yet. Don't just grab the next one up though. Like, be concise and make sure you're doing it for a reason. And that reason doesn't have to be stacking. It could be a little bit of a lean one way or another, but don't miss out on your ranking. If you have a winger that still exists way high up, don't not take them because you don't have a center. It's probably the way to put it, because it could have hurt you a lot last year. But this article is on Spike Week. It's free for everyone.
100% free.
100% free. So I'll post the link right here if you're in the comments. And I've already posted it, and I'll post it again. We're gonna join now. We're gonna be smarter this time than every other time I've drafted. We're gonna join, and then we're gonna continue to talk. So we got 6 people, so you'll be 5. So we have plenty of time. So everyone can start joining. Whenever this kicks off, we're gonna be hopefully ready. And we'll stop wherever we are, but I don't want to go again. My concern is always like, I'm not going to get to everything I want to say. And then, it's going to instantly start right in the middle of a point, but I'm not worried about that anymore. So hopefully it's only going to take a few minutes. There's only 4 left. This is another thing I wanted to go over though. This is, the data behind that last visualization.
So you sent me this, but also you didn't give me the headers, so I was kind of guessing at what each category was, and I was like,
I had to fix it. I had to fix it. It didn't transfer over correctly into Google, and it was all blacked out, and I fixed it. But we'll go over it quickly. So actually, I'm going to zoom in just a bit, because there we go. So this is, like I was saying, kind of that data visualization that you have in math. It's like, you can see, for example, this is 2022, so wrong year, but again, like McDavid right around that 10%, McKinnon right around that 40% for advance, and they're right here. You see what I'm saying? So all the advance rates. Just again, these were the ADPs, advance rates, number of percentage of weeks they scored this many points. So again, really a way that we're kind of looking at things to see where the peak potential is and what players actually showed. Forsberg was definitely an anomaly last year, like no doubt about that. Look which players burn people. I think the biggest thing for me with players that burn people is people are not taking them again this year. Some of them might be a bit warranted and some aren't. Tim Stützle might be a good example of a guy that burned a lot of people and now is a center and not a wing, which is correct. But at what cost? I mean, he's going at like pick 100. This is still you know what I mean? So it's been very interesting to kind of look through. Again, this is the difference in where where they started as center 1 and where McDavid finished as center 3, for example. So this difference is where they kind of changed in that perspective. So there's a lot of interesting notes, and again, just another way of looking at it. But I think the biggest thing at the beginning, again, and kind of taking away the position aspect of this, is just how valuable some of these wingers were. And a lot of them that absolutely carried so many teams, 31% of teams that drafted Pasternak and 38% that drafted Kucherov. And everyone seemed to think going into last year that if you didn't get a top 4 pick, you were dead, and they could not have been more wrong. So any, I guess, initial thoughts, and you kind of went through this stuff as well, based on this?
Yeah, this is like why I'm not scared of any of the picks like that are around that you can get. I don't know. I feel relatively. I'm going to be relatively flat in the first round because it can come from anywhere.
Yep.
And the thing that I thought was interesting is there's like every point in the draft, there's a guy kind of that smashed last year for some reason. So it doesn't have to be your first round players as long as you can kind of keep afloat and keep on structure. That will like be the driver. It may have to be someone later, but there's in this format that those players exist.
Yep. Yeah. And goalies were interesting too. One thing I'm trying to remember, because we talked about this yesterday quickly. I'm pretty sure they must have changed the scoring for goalies going from 2022 3 to 3-4 because they scored way less than the previous year. I think almost universally. Maybe not everyone, but that was something I had to look into as well because I was like, huh, like Sorokin scored so many less points than the previous year, and he was goalie too, and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I just I think I need to double check on. I'm not sure if anyone in here knows that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So I'm kind of throwing out a lot of the goalie stuff from 22-23 because I don't know how accurate it is. As far as the scoring system is now, which is the same as last year. So that's one note I did kind of pick up on. Other than that, I mean, it was just nothing that really stood out incredible amount. I do think some players like the Brinket were a bit of a Stamkos of this year problem where he started so high and he continued to go lower and lower and lower, but was kind of getting carried by people that didn't know what they were doing and auto drafting just enough that we really just ended up going too early for himself, for his own good. And, you know, some players like Svechnikov got injured, which again, to say Svechnikov still was the winger 27 is pretty crazy. So yeah, a lot of these are really interesting, but I don't know. There's not I guess way too much to glean from this other than, I don't know. Do you have anything else? We're waiting for 3.
Waiting on 2. So
2. Oh, it's 2 now.
yeah,
There it is.
2. Yeah. But no, I feel like it's tough last year. So I'm not like, how do you handle some of your rankings? Are you just like a per minute, per game type? Like, have you built projections yet? Like, what was your process of putting some of your rankings together?
Yeah, I mean, not complete yet. Definitely. So I was talking to Jay at Puck Luck a little bit, still kind of working on some stuff. He's working on projections. I'm kind of just letting him handle most of it. I talked about a little bit yesterday that most of what I'm doing right now is just trying to identify which players shot more, had higher rates than maybe we expected them to have, or had higher rates than their class of players around them are going. I'm very much, and this was a big point that I made from last year's rankings, is like, I want ADP to influence them still because so many of them, especially at the top, the upside is there. Like, it's hard to find a player in the top. I don't even know. I mean, like, again, like you go into this year, I think it's already a lot smarter than it was last year very quickly. Like, I don't want to have no exposure. So that's one thing that we're kind of waiting on, and why I'm not going overboard is because I want to make sure that our projections and our rankings are still tethered to ADP, which was really important last year. And I think it'll be important again because I don't want to, in anything I draft, there's a few players that I probably have 0%, but not many. And there's a few players I'll be closer to 20%, but not many, because I think that you should spread the wealth and you should get exposure to as many of the high upside players in the right structure as possible. So I'm not sure if that's kind of why it's like right now I'm much more just trying to deal hunt still. And I don't even really want projections yet because I'm seeing so many players that as long as you have a good system and a good way of making sure you're being very particular as you're drafting, you're going to find your Tage Thompson, for example. I mean, I got him at like 84 today or something, 85. And it's like, all right, that isn't going to last forever, right? So I think right now it's kind of hard because I don't want to miss out on someone, but I don't want to be, I don't know, honestly, probably could still be better off just having like a more defined ranking system right now. But I do want to tether it to ADP still.
Yeah, it's hard. So like
That makes sense.
the one draft I did, I was actually in with you yesterday. I've got a couple slows going, but the one fast I did was with you guys, and it was tough to like I had a whole list of people late that I wanted, but they were going earlier, and it's like,
Yep.
as you said, it's a bit of Russian roulette in terms of getting the guys that you want. And so, because I really like to work around ADP, try to get some values, and I do like to stack, but not like dumbly. So, like, I want to have them line up
Mhm.
way ADP, and like they're all going to play together, like logically. So, right now, it's not something I'm concerned of, but I will move into that kind of like phase of drafting probably in a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes. I think it's, and again, I think it's probably a good. I think it's a good way of doing it, honestly. And like that's what I did last year as well. Was I kind of waited, and then I mean, eventually we got it in Brick 75 tool, and I overlaid my rankings and my projections right onto it. Just it definitely makes things a lot easier once you get into it. That's another reason. I mean, last year as well, I did the first, I think, 20 fast drafts. I just loaded up 20, and I was all day just on it. And this year I'm like, I think I'm going to try to shoot for like the first 2 days, getting like 10 in and not going. I mean, while that window was fun and exciting, and I got a lot of like interesting, fun guys way, way later, I think it came at a cost of like, I mean,
Just some like kind of
overexposure. I don't
team.
even know. I just feel like it came at the cost of like drafting, I honestly, I'm not even sure if I could think of the right term to like describe the teams that I drafted early, other than they were chaos. They were just not like it's hard to say. I mean, it's good to have some, but I feel like they didn't advance any higher than my other teams later when ADP was much more stringent and defined. And I just think that like last year I was like, I got to get as many as physically possible while things are so chaotic, and I just don't think it even helped me that much. Like, I think it ended up. I think
Well,
it
what
just,
happens
I don't
is
even know. I don't know.
soon the draft is going to set, the ADP is going to set a little bit. People will
Mm,
move, but it'll settle a bit. So we're going to know the flows that work. If you miss here, you get it here, and if you miss there, then you get that there, right? Like at the beginning, you're not going to know any of that. So some of them might be hits, but some of them you can completely whiff on a draft or a couple pieces of it, and it makes the whole kind of draft a little bit more less dynamic.
yeah.
So that makes a ton of
I
sense.
mean, yeah.
Probably later drafts are way more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's probably the way to put it. And I think the one position that I really, really got carried away on was goalies last year. And I was like, I at one point I had like 88% Jordan Binnington because he was like one of the last goalies going. I mean, he did get there. It wasn't even bad. But I was like, holy crap. Like, I put so much faith in a goalie that I think sucks. I was like, what was wrong with me? And I just remember, I was like, why did I do this to myself? Like, oh man, I'm just like, I can't even, honestly, it was, you know what? Honestly, I think this is for my mental, my mentals. It was just bad. Like I just think I honestly, it was just wasn't good for me as a person to do that to myself and being like every draft lobby, trying to get everything done, multi-tabling NHL in July. It just,
Well,
yeah,
that's what
I
you have
just
to
don't
do
think.
when you're the king at that
I
moment.
know, but now I'm not the king anymore. That's the problem. I'm going to pull this up too. We're still waiting. Someone, I think it was Blueberry Tart in Discord. Is that his name? Something silly. Tart Blueberry. Already, oh boy, this is way too small. Already gave us the best puck playoff um, schedules for each team. I think I'm blocking a little bit. It's okay. Anaheim's that top team. I'm sure you can figure Anaheim out later. But this goes over, like for example, Buffalo and LA have like the most playoff games in theory. They also start the year against each other. Interestingly enough, at home in Buffalo. Actually, no, Buffalo plays away in overseas to start. That could be why. But anyways, you can look through stuff like this, and I've seen people already make the point of like, oh, Minnesota and yeah, Minnesota, LA or no, Montreal, right? Yeah, but Minnesota, Montreal have like 8 games in the final week. Stuff like that. Do you find this to be interesting or matter, or is this a little bit of I don't know, something that sounds neat, but in reality might not really matter that much?
Um, Feels like you're getting a little too cute at times with this. I, I, I don't know. There's part of me that does want to like I'm more concerned about the fives than I am like excited about like the seven and eights. Like the 5 feels like a really small amount of games, whereas like 7 and 8, like that's still a bunch of games, ultimately. So that's where my initial thought is. But no, I don't really wouldn't like draft by this. Have you and historically?
No, not really. The year I won, I did have a good rollout with Pittsburgh in the finals, and they had an extra game over most teams, but not all. I think it was like 4 teams that had one extra game, and it did end up kind of playing a part. So I don't think it's like inherently stupid, but I wouldn't not get exposure to a team because of this. Like this is probably like I guess San Jose, Jesus.
It
Who
could be
cares
like,
anyways, right?
yeah, it's like you don't want to target them anyways. So like
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
another
Ottawa
piece of like,
plays, they play less games in round 1, but more games in round 2 and 3. I think it's pretty minute. Like I'm not factoring it in much at all. And it is actually, we're getting lucky. Maybe we're getting lucky this year, man. I'm not positive, but with the, what's it called? The freaking 4 nation face off, we're like losing an entire 11, 12 days of the regular season. So I do think that there's a lot. I mean, this is higher. These games in the finals, like that is a lot more the final 3 weeks, because there's just so many games that got to cram in all at once. So I don't know if it matters all that much. And every team has at least an important round. But there's only 4 teams that have that extra game in the final. The final 2 weeks, of course, that is. Yeah, so maybe, Dallas, Minnesota, Montreal, and Ottawa. Like maybe I at least consider it a little bit, but not much. I mean, they're all teams that are pretty easy to stack as well. So if you get them, you get them. I don't think I'm not moving the needle on Jason Robertson because of this, but maybe it makes more sense. And like they're all easy and good to stack already. So it's like, doesn't really change anything. I guess it's just maybe a little bit more top of mind, but not much. Are we even closer? Come on, 2 more people.
we're at
One
one.
more.
We're waiting on one.
Yeah, I'm keeping it on my phone because I can't have it up on my laptop as well, or else it'll. Oh, if I have it on my laptop, then I can't see this. Yeah. Hold on. What else we got? Man, we're still making pretty good time right now. The goalie thing seems messed up though. I just realized that. How could Sorokin have been goalie 2? And then Olmark, he was goalie. Something is wrong with goalies. I don't know what this is. I just realized that. I'm like, how did that go that way? I'm gonna have to mess around with goalies more. I find, figuring out goalie is definitely gonna be once again incredibly important. But 780 points for, let me just look at this really quickly. So 780 points for Hellebuck. Pull this up. Right? 789 points. And the year before he had, like, how did this happen? He had more points. He had more, but how did he get that many more saves? Because he won it was like the best year in like goaltending forever. Something just seems wrong with what happened here. I don't understand. It's happened for so many goalies. Like every one of them.
Like a systemic year. Like it's just like I'm like,
how did this?
Like I'm a baseball first. Like, did they change the ball? Like, did they change the rules?
Right. I don't think so.
Did they our teams now trending towards more like rotations at goalie? Is that something that we need to be talking about in this format?
Well, I mean, look at the wins where it's like Saros had 2 more wins. Shots. Okay, I think it's starting.
Yeah,
something just seems weird. I don't know what I noticed this yesterday, and I thought like, oh crap, like, oh, all right, well, we're right next to each other. Perfect. Love that. I am so confused. Something just seems weird. I don't know what this is. I don't know if I've noticed something that matters or not. Like I thought maybe they changed the scoring, but maybe I'm wrong on that because every single goalie has. I mean, that's not that many less saves because it's a lot more goals against and less wins. But how did this? Something seems weird.
Yeah, if anyone does, please let us know. But
I mean, goals were down a bit. I think no, not really though. Think about any points. I got to think about this. I am a bit confused. Why would volume have been down that much? Did they change something? in the way they were tracking shots, that could have been it too. Because it's something seemed weird to me, and I thought something had to have changed bigger than just like. But yeah, every single goalie saw so many less shots. They're out to get us over on shot prop guys. That's what I think it is.
Later in the draft, you'll have to tell me some of the way too early bets that I should be making in the NHL.
I really haven't looked at much yet. I will be. I haven't yet. So yeah, we do. We got I mean, I think we're gonna have a lot of friends and family in here. If I guess the same Mon whatever, he was here yesterday. I'm not sure if that's one of you in the chat. I'm not sure who that is exactly. I know Lele UF won. I believe he won the Zamboni 2 years ago. He had the most ridiculous team I've ever seen. And wow, you get pick 4 here. So
this is fun. So yeah, McKinnon was awesome last year, and we're gonna ride with that.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I think the top 5 is pretty much obvious at this point, and Kucherov is the 5th. Pastrnak, I mean, I do think that he is right there with McKinnon, honestly, but it's hard to pass up. Like, you're getting just center. It's has some depth to it, but not no one's getting to McKinnon, unfortunately. So, yeah, Noah, who was with us yesterday, is right behind us, as he's pointing out. And he goes with Kaprizov. He was also very team not Draisaitl. I'm not sure if you have looked into Draisaitl at all. I'm not sure where you have him ranked. If you want to give that away or if you want to save that for an article. But do you have him a bit lower than last year, as I showed, I think he was going 2 to 3. Yeah, 2 to 3.
So I have my first, was it 132? I think is what it was. I have ranked. And I have him at 11. So currently I won't be getting much of him. And I think it's for me, there's two things. There is a material difference between the top tier and him, what he gets you.
Mm-hmm.
And then structural reasons, he kind of gets you out of that. So it's you're fighting uphill and not a somewhat worse version of the better, the truly awesome teams. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. We'll see where he moves. I would love to see him sit right around the turn. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and me and Matt have notoriously been low on Draisaitl, just as a player in general, and it was just, he can get carried by Connor McDavid because he fits incredibly well with him, but for him and that team to reach their full potential, they need him to be more than on McDavid's line, and I just think that didn't quite get there. So we'll see what happens this year. He should have better line mates to play with. That could be a factor in this as well. And now he should have at least, Arvidsson to go on his wing. So we'll see what happens. But we're getting to the turn. No real surprises yet. We'll see who gets back to me here. Again, I started with Kucherov. We have the Mikko drafter, who of course didn't get Makar. That was sort of a pretty easy thing to get early on, and it's getting much more difficult as, there goes Gensel. So I'm not even mad about it. I don't think Gensel really is the same level as a couple of these guys, but I do like him with Kucherov so much to hit his peak together. I'm pretty indifferent on these 3, honestly, and I'm going to take one of them here. I'm probably just going to go with Reinhart. I don't even really care that much. I don't think Reinhardt's going to get to the same level again, but I do think that the only thing he became a victim to is that people remember last year that he was a center and now he's a winger. And as a winger, where he does play and should be, he is clearly the guy that's going to shoot the most on the power play. His rates are fine. They got much better, and he's going to be with Barkov all season long, which just gives him such a good boost. So you go with Marner, everyone's least favorite player in Toronto, but a guy that has 100-point upside. So any thoughts on Mitchell Marner, who everyone in Toronto hates? But
I don't care. I'm not that's the beauty of being a non hockey guy is the players that frustrate you in real life. I don't care. No. His stats are pretty good, and he's consistent year over year. I don't see, and I think he's just appropriately ranked here. So
yep. No, I mean, I think he's so much more likely to get back into the 700, plus point range than he is to be down in this a little bit lower. I mean, he lost like 100 points in underdog scoring last year. I think he definitely takes a big jump back forward again. Playing with Matthews all season long, both of them healthy, and I don't think he's going anywhere. You take Igor. Yeah, I mean, I was going to take him, so fair enough.
I was going to take Reinhardt, the pick before that, so I feel vindicated.
I think I have Reinhardt just a hair above Marner and Stamkos, and like Honor is going to move into that range as well, so I agree. I've already queued up Demko. I think I'm just going to ride him here. I don't really find him to be all that much different from Hellebuck and Shesterkin. Like the one negative, well, I guess more than, I mean, I have Hellebuck above them. I guess I forgot that Saros already went. Vancouver does lose their backup. I don't even have to look it up. DeSmith goes to Dallas, and they're going to go with Slovis, who was fine in the playoffs, but I do worry about like Ottinger a little bit more getting a comparable backup than worry about Slovis taking too much net from Demko when healthy is arguably the best goalie in the world. Sorokin goes right after. Again, I don't think there's any problem with Sorokin. I was confused about Sorokin because I was like, man, he had that was like the first guy I noticed had so many less points. It's like, how did that happen? Like he lost, and now I'm just realizing every goalie did. So, I don't know. That's actually very interesting. I honestly gotta, it's like they scored about I mean, Demko did miss a lot of time at the end of the year. He was on an absolute like world-beating run, which again is why I'm buying in on him without a doubt. So we move on. Caulfield is a guy that I wish I could get more of, and he just continues to escape my grasp. One of the best rate shooters and a guy that feels like he's just on the edge of getting to that 30, 35, even maybe 40 goal mark. Just maybe dependent on if his shot is as good as it projected to be or not. So Ovechkin goes 35. Again, we talked about this yesterday as well. Guy that we thought would be a little bit later and has gone a bit earlier. Both of the defensemen go. The Draisaitl, Hyman, Bouchard super stack, betting on that top power play in spades. Dahlin is a guy that I keep, again, hoping slips further. I don't know if I quite have him in the 31 spot, but fair around there. Pettersson is probably one of the more mispriced players of everyone, but as a center, I kind of get why he slips. Nothing else really standing out. Goalies are interesting. I'm not sure if you've had any strong takes on like Ottinger, Vasi, Georgiev, Swayman, Skinner, Bobrovsky range, but that's been one that I've kind of been playing around with a bit more and more.
My take right now is goalie feels like really thin. Like it's gonna be like, and we'll get more clarity as we get closer to the season. But right now, it just feels like the guys that you can plug in for the whole season. Like that's the one thing that I felt really bad about my draft. Not really bad, but like my draft, I did not nail goalie. I had two from the same team because I kind of fell into like I don't know what to do here kind of situation. Yep. So that's one thing I'm definitely prioritizing in this earlier window is people that are known commodities. At goalie, I have like a little bit of a bump.
Yeah. I mean, Vasi missed a ton of time last year and still kind of got there in a sense. So like, I do wonder if he's getting, I mean, he just won so many games. We are going to get here to an interesting spot with Eichel and Bedard still on the board. And honestly, a lot of good wingers that I like in this range. Bedard goes, Eichel stands alone. I'm going to grab him here at 44. I think he'll fall, but it kind of feels like the end result of where he could fall to. Maybe people are a little bit lower on him losing March or so, but I just think he'll shoot even more. We know that his range of outcomes with his shot profile are incredibly high, higher than Point, higher than Crosby as far as shooting goes. It's just, will he get enough points without maybe the best line mates? But I'm really hopeful that he can carry that team because they're going to really rely on him. What are you thinking here?
For me, this is like as much a structural pick as it is anything else. So I need to get back on, like, staying ahead of winger is going to be like the story of my season. If we're going to be like, and I'm going to have my exposures are going to be distorted accordingly. Like, so I'll just have to be conscious of the fact that I'm going to be like overweight certain players just based on how I'm drafting. And that's what's great about Spike Week is the exposure tools that they have is you the variety of different ways to where are your stacks, which team, which player combinations. You don't want always this center with this winger, you do need some other options. So if X player gets hurt, that team isn't, your entire portfolio of those guys isn't dead. So that's going to be a conscious effort for me this year.
Yeah, let's see here what our 2 center, 1 goalie does. Is he auto picking? I think this might be auto picking. That would be the only thing that made. Oh no, but he took Saros above ADP. Okay, nope. He grabbed his 3rd center. Interesting move. Okay, so not the way I would be doing things. I guess the way I look at Kreider is like I like Boldy, Kreider, Keller, probably all the same. The next tier down is probably where Kyrou, Timo, and a couple other guys. I mean, there's it's sort of a, I don't know. I don't have a Toronto honestly as high as a couple others. So let me see who you take first. McKinnon, Marner, Kreider, and Igor. Okay, Georgiev. So you're going to get way ahead of the goalie with Shesterkin's former backup. So he's going to also back him up here. As you knew, you were probably just going to start repeating as I was saying it. Yeah. So I mean, that's probably the last elite goalie. I'm just going to wait on it though. I've been really falling in love with Matt Barzal. I just think that what he did last year is not only replicable, but I think he could actually outperform it. And where I don't know if that's the case with a guy like Bertrano, who I really think should have less of a role. The goal scoring's still there for him, but I kind of put these two as like about even. And I think I'm going to get overweight on Barzal. Tippett as well, who goes right after to Noah. I would have him probably just a bit above Bertrano. Just, I mean, think about Anaheim and where they're going. It's away from Bertrano. So I think in his like optimal outcome, he could probably get traded. Like he starts off really hot and they sell on him to go to a team that needs a goal scorer to fill a top power play and a top line role. And there's teams that could happen for him. And his rates are fantastic, but they're going to start giving that run to Carter Gauthier. They're going to start giving that run back to Zegras, I think, if they think he could still be a part of this team. And, the aging Frank Petrano, I worry about a little bit. Yeah, I love Matt Barzal. Again, another guy that was a center last year, isn't a center. He's a winger and going to get so much run in the island. So I am a bit indifferent on honestly all 4 of these players that went after, and like maybe I throw Fiala in that mix. But yeah, I definitely like my start as of right now. Kucherov, Reinhart, Barzal, Eichel, and Demko. For some reason, someone had to take Braden Point for me. I don't really know. Did that guy? I want to look back now. Point went to this guy. Yeah, it took Gensel and Point. Like, get a life, dude. Come on. I don't even care. But again, I talked about this yesterday too, and I'll see if you agree or not, but I don't really care. It's just like, it's kind of just like a little bit annoying. It's like, I don't need it. I can still win without it. I don't need this correlation, but like, why are you forcing it? I don't know. I mean, it matters so much more in football than it does in hockey. But do you share the same feeling about correlation?
And it's just like, I like correlation because it helps me like structure drafts and get to different things. And I mean, I think logically we know from the dailies that it works. But the one thing that is like it's not the same level of boost as you're going to see in the other sports. It feels like, and especially in this window, like I'm not forcing it. Like as like things start to settle, then I'll align logical like correlations. But at this moment, I'm pretty comfortable not doing it.
Yeah, I agree very much so. So there goes Linus Ullmark. I think that was the only goalie I think I was kind of considering there. I'm going to put Dobson in the queue. I'm going to double check winger one last time. I don't think there was anyone that I'm dying for. So I think I'm actually get my first share of Noah Dobson to correlate with what's his name, Matt Barzal. I do think Noah Dobson has upside, maybe a bit outside of this class. This is I think he was second, third, or I think he was third in points for defensemen last year, and his rates were really good. They actually went down later in the year, which is, I guess, minorly concerning, but I'm not going to let that factor in too much. I'm going to hope that he gets back to shooting on the power play and just see who you take here. Marchand.
We're in a little hometown here. I can do it in Boston now. So, to God, like, shout out to boys. But then I don't know, just another solid like structural pick. And I feel like he's consistent year over year.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah, Marchand is just kind of feels inevitable to get the number of points, and picking him at 69 just feels like where he'd want to go most. Seems like a guy that would laugh at that a little bit, you know. He seems like a guy that would love drafting, you know. After he finishes up his career, I'll probably get him on. He seems like a fun dude. But yeah, no, definitely, yeah, no problems. This whole section of winger to me is very hard to. I think again, like it's a perfect situation of like somewhat established younger players, some more getting towards veteran guys that are interesting, and then some prospects that are like huge upside. Now, Slafkovsky is the clear prospect in this camp, a guy that absolutely went nuclear. We talked a ton about him yesterday with Noah because Noah is a big fan of Montreal, a guy that went insane the second half of the year. It's like pulling up his numbers from one side to the other. It was like, holy crap, it's a new player emerged. And the role is going to continue to be there for him. But like, does that mean you're like, is it best outcome still like Busnevich? Is it Tuck? You know, I mean, is he going to actually eclipse these guys? Man, yeah, I'm considering going with the McCann route. I really am so indifferent on so many of these guys, and Jared McCann's jersey is just sitting right here, so it feels like I should just take my guy right next to me. I'm gonna grab him. The reason, and I talked about Seattle. The thing about Seattle is last year under their idiot coach, honestly, I can't even think of his name right now because of Paxtall. This guy just hated fun. He hated running anything that made sense. I swear a lot of teams in the NHL actually have coaches that do not have any game planning at all. Like there's no plan and they are just vibes, and they are old guys that just think they can just yell at players and do the like that power play. If you asked any hardcore hockey fan, what is Seattle's first power play? They would probably just not even, they'd be like, well, McCann and done, and then nothing else. I think under a real head coach, that might be changed, and maybe we actually see where they give McCann an opportunity to play with good players all season long and not bump him around to, you know, with third and fourth liners and make the power play an absolute mess. And while I hope that helps other players as well and could snowball, it's really hard to pick out who that is. It's really only Jared McCann because they only picked up Chandler Stevenson and Brandon Montour. We talked a lot about how useful Montour can be and help everyone along the way. Like every player is going to benefit from having another defenseman that can actually break the puck out. But is there anyone else you're going to buy? Like who's going to shoot the puck? All of this offense is going to lead to what end result? I think that result is McCann, Bjorkstrand being sort of the bigger catalyst of fantasy success. So those are guys I'm buying on. And after that really long-winded explanation, you also grabbed Adam Fox. So the Rangers for the Cup, not what a Boston fan would want, but your teams does want. So any reason behind Adam Fox other than he gets a bazillion points?
He gets a bazillion points, some like light stacking as well with Kreider, so that feels okay. And yeah, I think that's pretty simply to add.
Yeah, his rates really were a bit better at times too. Like he was shooting, he still was blocking shots, missed a little bit of time. And I kind of mentioned this on Twitter. He got married at the same venue I'm getting married at. And there was a very specific reason. I don't really know. I mean, I could talk a little bit about it because I was told, but like his wife's dad has ALS, and they actually moved the wedding up a whole year too. And they're from that area where I'm getting married. So yeah, he was there. I saw the pictures and I'm like, this doesn't look anything like my venue anymore because I swear they may have spent $100,000 on flowers. And I thought like I'm exaggerating, but everyone was like, no, that's what $100,000 in flowers looks like. And I'm like, yuck.
I'm getting married too this summer, and that is so much. Yeah.
If you look at these pictures, it's disgusting. Flowers are just probably the biggest joke in the world. I think I'm going to grab Gustafsson here. I mean, it's him or Jari. You know what? Screw it. I'll go Jari. Screw it. Those two are right neck and neck for me. They both have like the similar, like somewhat of a problem with a split. I just can't miss on both. Like after that, it gets really, 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 really thin. I don't have a lot of faith in Talbot. Like Billy Husso's not bad. And Cam Talbot is, how old is Cam Talbot? Let's pull that up. Well, then I make your pick too. Sorry. Stu, going with Stu. Okay.
I feel like this is a good range to get the second, and then now the last one is kind of be at the end. So yeah, I don't think that I could even argue that this could be a two center team. That's something I might flirt with a little bit this year when I have like some of the earlier center builds. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? How many of those did you do last year? Two center teams?
Maybe 3. I could think 2 or 3 somewhere. I know I did more than one. But that was, I think, last year. Yeah, last year was, well, it could have been 2 years ago. I don't know how many I did last year because the year before I got a bunch of like if I had McDavid and then Jack Hughes could flip to like the third round, I was taking him. I'm gonna let you make your next pick too. But yeah, Cam Talbot's 37. Happy belated birthday. Busnevich, yeah. I mean, I was probably grabbing him if you didn't. It was the last of the other best wingers. But I'm also pretty high on Brian Rust as well. Just seems like an obvious power play one guy. Like you go to the Penguins and you think even if they're if I could spell Penguins with an N, like who is taking that power play role? Like even if you consider bunting on it, Rust is definitely going in over Raquel. So yeah, I still think Brian Rust there's enough on that, and that's a guy that feels like he's been around forever. Not really. He's not incredibly old and should be playing at 5-on-5 with Crosby. So I think that he's a really good buy in this range as well. But Busnevich, I would have above him, so I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, he was like at the end of the tier, right? And this is interesting. Like this is the window where I feel like all the wingers are going to be like very clearly mispriced. It's hard to do like an initial set of rankings. When I put my rankings together, I like kind of pinned them to closing ADP in terms of like where winger 1 and winger 2 went and what like in ordinally and stuff. So like I was way off of what opening ADP was. And maybe I don't know if I was right or went too far in some direction, sometimes obviously, but yeah, I thought opening ADP wasn't like was better than previous year. It seemed like, but based on the conversation, but it's still like it's never going to be correct.
I really, honestly, I think Numi, if he was in here to start, but he left, I would be very interested in knowing what goes into that initial ADP because some of it made a ton of sense and some of it was like surprisingly accurate and other things I just have no idea. Like, I don't know what. Oh, no, it doesn't show up on the screen. Sorry, I keep accidentally clicking on the news tab on these stupid computers. I'm good right now. Unless the news is Best Puck's launched. That should have been on the headline of every newspaper around the country. What are we even doing in this? Best Puck has launched.
Like the last thing, and there's a little blurb right on the back page.
I just don't know. If you ask me what else is going on in the world, I'd say nothing. So to me,
based on your timeline on Twitter, like DJ's back. Like he took a break, but DJ's back. He's been like flirting with a little bit of like NFL posts and like with some creative builds, but
I just wanted the hat. Once I got my Underdog Hardware Club hat, I was content. But now I might as well take the free puppy drafts. But yeah, no, I mean, another thing I've noticed is like if I post something that I think is at all interesting, I have to like go back. I mute so many words on Twitter that sometimes people will say very normal things and I'll still get muted just because everything that annoys me, I just mute. And I'm struggling with a new one because this freaking boom meter garbage are these like freaking this annoying ass family that yells boom about everything they eat. I can't get rid of them because I can't get rid of the word boom. It's like, you know what I mean though? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I just keep seeing this stupid thing and I don't care. And probably people in here right now.
I haven't clicked that thread apparently.
It just keeps showing up. I'm gonna take Bo Horvat. I don't even care. It's probably going a little too far in the freaking cesspool that is the New York Islanders. But I mean, they're just so one-dimensional as a team. Like it's Horvat, Barzal, Dobson, and then anyone they can carry along for the ride, and like kind of Brock Nelson. That I don't really mind it, but I'm definitely done on Islanders. So Brock Nelson's wide open to anyone else. Yeah, I'm sure people in the chat are probably like, I don't know how you've avoided this. Like every time I open this stupid app, all I see are these kids and their dad eating snacks and yelling boom, like a ton. And people love it. And now there's a song. I'm not listening to the song, but I can't get rid of this one. I normally can get rid of stuff. Like the other day, I learned about a streamer named Sketch. I just muted the word Sketch. Might I miss a Sketch comment? Never heard of this guy in my life. I looked, I'm like, huh? And I'm like, I don't care. I just don't care. Like, I just don't know what else to tell people.
Well, he's like, the fact you must have been living under a rock, because he's like,
I've never heard of it. I mean, as far as streamers, like I don't watch a lot. I don't watch anyone really live. Sometimes I watch.
We need to talk about this Shan man.
Yeah, I was clicking on his team because I'm a little confused. Okay, yeah, he's fine.
If you're out here, please read my article.
Yeah, this is not a red badge that I'm familiar with. Go away, news. Can I just delete news from I don't want any news ever. I want hockey. How do I get rid of you? Go away. Is there a way to just delete this from like I don't know. Does Microsoft Computer just make you have news? Okay. Let's focus now. They're distracting me with stuff I don't care about. Boy. These freaking sickos keep taking Dylan Gunther from me, so I might just do it now.
I heard you talking about him yesterday. What ADP ceiling are you out on him?
Probably where I just took him. Like I think I'm taking him too early, but I truly want exposure. I really think this is like a potential 30 goal scoring upside player. I think that everything you think Cole Caulfield is, as far as maybe not rates, but everything else is Dylan Gunther. Like I think he has finishing ability above almost, like of all of the players in a fantasy space, this is one that I'm like, I'm buying on early. The profile is pretty insane on this guy to be an incredibly big fantasy producer at the 20. I mean, again, a player at 20 years old that was already sort of scoring at this level at professional, in actually on the Coyotes, and just, I mean, the AHL wasn't even fair. Like he could not stay in the AHL. Like he was too dominant at 20. It's pretty rare. Now going to Utah, of course, like I still think though, it's like, it's even better. Like I think if they want to compete at their highest peak, it's putting him with Clayton Keller, which they did do at times. And if that comes together, we're getting a value on him. That's the concern though. But I really do think that like we're going to look back on Dylan Gunther and say, holy crap, he leads Utah in goals. And 125 is the ceiling. Paterka already went, I saw, so I was a little bit sad. Peace out, Noah. But yeah, it is a little bit difficult though to say. I mean, again, this is because we haven't seen a ton of it yet, but the only other player, honestly, is probably, I don't even know. I just think at wing is so thin at this point that I really don't even care. Sharon Govich is another one that I do not understand the ADP on. I was kind of sitting on him as well. I don't know.
I mean, it's so Joe Pavelski sitting there with a pretty solid ADP. He, my buddy. So I split all these drafts with one of my friends who's like obsessed with hockey, and he's the hockey brain. I'm the data brain and best ball brain of this group of my duo. But he's just like sending me links of like, yeah, he retired. Don't rank him. He's retired.
Yep, he is. He is very retired, and a lot of people are very not understanding of that. So he's been getting drafted quite a bit. This might be my chance to take Montour, like I kind of talked about with McCann, like the peak McCann season, and he's my fourth winger. Like I kind of need him. Is definitely coming with Brandon Montour, who is coming off a bad year in theory, but we have to remember he missed like the first 2 months, if not more, and was not ready. Like just straight up could not play to start his year. Just came in super duper slow after missing multiple months after a pretty bad injury, and then got back to his form. In the Cup final, it was bad. They seemed like a team that had a lot of injuries. I'm not sure if we got the full scope on Montour because the finals, he was just not the same player. They actually took him off the top power play. But going to Seattle where the power play one is there for him, and I just think there's a lot more potential goal scoring all around the board. You go with McAvoy. You're then not getting Lindholm as someone take Lindholm, but makes sense with Pasternak right after him. So you're just basically the biggest Bruins homer, but also a Rangers homer. I don't know.
That'll be fun. That's fun to watch, right? And this is what, again, I said, I'm not a fandom type of guy here. Like, this is just
Why not?
kind of some light stacking, players that fit in the pockets. And so that was like again, the stacking kind of considerations for me.
Yeah, McAvoy is interesting because it seems like a guy that does everything besides shoot too much, which you're not going to find that many defensemen this late that are heavy rate shooters. It's just last year the points didn't happen, which again I don't know like what I'm drawing from that. Do I want to say that he was unlucky? Do I want to say that maybe he just is not as useful as the puck distributor in the offensive zone? Or is there something maybe more that we just don't know about? And I think I'm also willing to bet back on him again, especially at this point, comparatively to others who, frankly, Shea Theodore, I worry about losing his power play one role, although very draftable still. I do worry about. With Tang, I worry about health-wise and immensely. Sanderson's probably the next most interesting guy around that range. But let me let you make your pick here.
Gonna finish up goalie here. I'm really, really solid already, so I'm going to take a big swing and see what happens.
Yep. The back-to-back Carolina goalies. I'm only taking Korchakov right now, but it doesn't feel good. Like
why is that?
Why am I only taking Korchakov? Because I'm a prospect idiot.
Oh.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm going to take Jake Sanderson though. I'm not gonna wait any longer on defense. I mean, really, I think it's just probably the playoffs. And like, how old is Freddie Anderson? There's another good question. Freddie Anderson. Is Freddie Anderson as old as I think he is? Yes, I want the Danish goalie, Freddie Anderson. 34, turns 35 to start the year. Pretty old. Korchakov is a lot younger. I mean, they're going to split. It's probably the end. Like, we're going to do all this. We're going to really try to figure it out. We're going to do, and they were pretty notorious before for splitting. They would actually, at one point with Korchakov, because he was, again, the prospect, kind of easing him in, they would fly a goalie out to the, let's say if they were playing on the West Coast, they'd fly a goalie out early to start the first game and get acclimated because they'd have 3 and they'd waive one, but not play them in the AHL. They were doing all these different tricks and stuff. So knowing all of that, knowing that they're, by the way, if you ever want to look up a general manager that you'd love, Tulski is like the data-viz bro of hockey GMs. And they try all this fun stuff to accommodate, like I'm saying, the stuff like that crazy when they go on the West Coast to be like, we want a goalie there getting acclimated to the time zone. I think they're going to run 2 or 3 goalies. Right now, they really only have the 2. Let's look. Isn't there one more guy that they have that's like at least Spencer Martin, right? That could at least play an NHL game if they needed him to. So I think we'll see all 3 of them at times. But I think if anyone were to steal the net, it's the young guy. If Korchakov, I think he's the only one that actually has the ability to steal the net. So when we're talking about one of the best teams in the league, a team that has a chance to be in the President's Trophy conversation, it's worthy of taking a stab at that goalie. But if both are on the table, I'm taking Korchakov, I think, every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the part where I late round goalie becomes so tough. And that's where the rounds 13 through 16 is where I need the targets to kind of wrap up my drafts. Because if I'm gonna draft the way that I did today with have the 2 really early goalies, I need to figure out this range. I was targeting a couple guys that went just before that, like Joseph Wall.
Yep, that was. I know. I was just looking. I was like, where did he go? Yeah, he must have just missed him going there. Damn, that is that's who I was going to take. The cord went. Yeah, goalie is really disappeared. I have one left, but I feel pretty comfortable with them going Jari. I'm not like dying here, but yeah, that was not preferable. There's still 2 or 3 guys I like. Everyone after me, besides the person that's completely making up on the fly, has 3 goalies, so I'm not gonna do that here. There was a couple wingers. I think I'm actually gonna lock up Dylan Cousins. Everyone needs a center still. Let's take a young Saber. I gotta be a homer too. I have a Dylan Cousins jersey. I could go get it out if we need it. But yeah, Cousins coming off of a very disappointing year. But the one thing about Buffalo is getting a piece of that top 6 is maybe more valuable than it was. Again, another team that I think under Granato had no great game planning, no structure, and Lindy Ruff is coming in to give that structure, to give that game planning, to clearly have a defined top 6 and a defined bottom 6 as they went out and only got bottom 6 guys. Dylan Cousins is just, they're going to shelter more. They tried to force Dylan Cousins into being a penalty kill specialist / defensive, a guy that they literally were saying we're challenging him every night to go out there against the McDavids and Crosbys of the world. And it just didn't quite work. It's not entirely his fault. Like, he's not McDavid and he's not Sidney Crosby, but he is a really, really good fantasy asset that now is not going to have to do that because they got Ryan McLeod to do it. So I'm thinking that he's probably a little bit low here. I think Nugent Hopkins before him is still probably the case, though. It's not like he's going way out of range because center is still pretty deep, but I think he's the last guy of a tier. And then it's kind of a total guessing game on like Cooley, Fantilli, and some other really young guys that projects to be great fantasy assets, but we don't really know when that's going to come.
Yeah, so you're saying this is when you think it kind of falls off?
At center, I mean, there's a lot of stabs that I like, but they're stabs. Like, I don't know if there's anyone still that I'm like, oh, duh, that guy. You still have one more center, so I'm excited to hear your take on that. But it's definitely not.
You're going to give me the answer.
I mean, I'm taking a little bit of everyone. Like, Cooley is the guy I took last time. Another, I think the biggest thing about Utah is who was their first center. At this point in the draft, 0 centers, which is very accurate and true, have gone from Utah. Is it Cooley? It's not Bukestad. It's definitely not McBain. So the only other guy is Barrett Hayton, who missed a ton of time last year. People were drafting him, but again, I just don't think it's him. So it could be Logan Cooley, who is a very good young prospect. Adam Fantilli, the former 2nd overall pick, projected to be a Jack Eichel type shooter. Again, missed a lot of time. Coaching did not favor him as a young player. So those are probably my main 2. And then Shane Pinto as 3, as like Ottawa's second center could end up being a good bet to play in that first power play. So those are definitely the 3 here. And honestly, Dylan Strome is fine too. Not Tom Wilson. That's not a center at all.
Yeah, but let's have patience. I got to finish out the 7 of the 3-7-3-3. And when it's just like a bunch of guys, I kind of just I'll let it fall to who comes back to me to make my decision.
I think I'm gonna run it with Lucas Dostal. I think that they're gonna go to him as the starter. I mean, again, like, this is a guy that even at the current spot where they are as an organization with him and Gibson, I think he's going to see a lot of run. But they really want to trade Gibson for anything, I think, and I think a team will bite. Just not sure who yet. It feels like everyone betting on Joseph Woll is praying that it's not Toronto, and everyone that's betting on, I mean, there's just not many dance partners left. So I don't mind betting on Dostal over a couple other guys. Like, every team I feel like feels like a question mark. I don't have all the faith in the world in Merce Lincoln's being a starter. Dustin Wolf versus Vladar, again, kind of a question mark. I like Brossoit over Mrazek. And then you're just actually clicking on the San Jose Shark goalie. And it's like, you don't have to. So it's a lot of interesting picks for sure. But I think he's hopefully the last guy.
This is the part of the draft where I need to tighten up my rankings.
Yeah. And Tristan agreeing. Also going to be the 3rd best goalie to draft this year. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of outcomes I think for Dostal to get there. Like, and I believed in the prospect all along. I mean, I'll be entirely honest. Moody was on him first. I still remember we were in a dynasty league and he like traded for him, and I was like, was this like it was a part of a trade? And I'm like, what? Like the prospect for Anaheim, and he's like, trust me. I was like, okay, and Matt was right. I sort of started looking into him, and I'm like, oh wow. Matt may have found something here. So I will give him a shout from Zurich, where he is right now. I'm sure he's watching at whatever time it is there. I actually texted him a couple questions he didn't answer like an hour before we started. So I'm thinking it's probably in the AM over in Zurich.
Mm-hmm. What is it, 5-6 hours? Yeah.
Gotta be. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know for sure. But we're down to the final teams. This guy, or final picks, this guy didn't really... He started. This was the guy that I remember thinking like, dang, this guy went all in on wing, and he just kind of abandoned ship completely. Interesting.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to review some of the teams. Earlier after we do this, and then I'll jump off and let you get your second guess.
Yeah, I think he's. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's watching at this point, Michael. So he knows that he's ready. I know he's ready, but yeah, this is going to be the name of the game. It's unfortunately not NFL where everything snap fills. We're going to have to be patient as I'm learning the hard way. I still have a winger to take. You still have a center to take. Mm-hmm. Winger got pretty snatched up. I do know who I plan on taking. I'm not even that worried. I don't think anyone. I think I'm going to grab Jack Quinn and just build out my Sabres bet with Cousins. I think that's the... if Peterka isn't getting there, it's because Jack Quinn took that first power play job. Guy that just can't stay healthy, but certainly has the prospect pedigree to be a very good fantasy asset. And if he gets that first power play and Cousins is getting there, it's probably largely because of how good Jack Quinn is. So I think that's the pairing I like over anything else. I do think Peterka will still slide on that top line. It's just, will he be top power play? Again, I think yes. Like I'm betting on Peterka as I have like 70% of him. But, on the other hand, I still want to get a bit of each. You went with Sam Bennett. Florida is an interesting team for a lot of reasons. The biggest one, and the reason why I like Bennett, is obviously the rates and the finishing. But the power play could legitimately be defensemanless. And if it is without a defenseman, it's probably because Bennett's on that top power play. So I do agree that is a good stab. Like, Forsling is just not a power play one defenseman. He does everything else amazing and is still relevant in this format. So you're really betting on a guy in Boqvist to take that run. And this is not a team that's not afraid under Paul Maurice to run 5 forwards. So I do like the stab on him. The last pick was Joe Pavelski. So rest in peace to that guy. Let's pull up the full board. So, yeah, the one drafter, I don't know how much time we have to spend. They failed, and they took Joe Pavelski.
Please read the article.
Yeah, and double check where Joe Pavelski's playing next year, because he's not in the NHL at least. He almost
maybe men's league.
Yeah, he kind of left the door open to return. Get out of here. He to return to the NHL after this year, but it's like, so there. I mean, some people did take that as maybe he waits until the last chance in February or whatever and signs, and it's like, it's still not even that good of a player. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
that's not the best ball bet. Like, that's not how.
No,
that's not how. It's not how it works.
No, not when you have very good players. Yeah.
We have players that are going to be good all season, being drafted in the 16th round. We don't need the guy might be good half a season.
Yeah. So barring Byfield and Velarde both combining for 1,480 underdog points, this guy's completely and totally dead. We don't have to worry about him. We're really sorry. Red badge. So you've drafted a lot of teams in your past. Hopefully you've hit a big winner and can burn this $15 on your experiment. Number 2, the Matthews drafter. No real issues at all. He just missed on the goalie avalanche by going with Kempe, and then made up for it by going with Swayman, which is at least a guy that could get there. I'm pretty sure Matt will put him below the Skinner and Georgiev tier himself. I think he's right there. Like, he's fine, but Missed on the goalie avalanche and got a lot of good upside wing potential, but Swayman, Binnington, Kemper. I guess you made up for it.
Yeah, it's just like playing the middle pocket. Not the upside, but just it's like inning eaters from baseball. Just like guys are gonna play. Swayman's got some upside now, especially with Allmark out of there.
This feels like a team that like every player has a good floor, but like the ceiling on like Thomas, Kopitar, Krause, Arvidsson, Doughty, it's not that high. I mean, Lafreniere too. Like these are all guys that have either are missing a power play role, are missing elite rate shooting, or shooting at all, really, in the case of Kopitar. And it's like but it's a team that still is definitely going to compete because the upside is right here. I mean, with Austin Matthews and Kyle Connor, and honestly Adrian Kempe, who will correlate well at least. So yeah, team 3. I don't think there's any problem anyone could really pick with this team other than maybe Uyghur over Dougie. Like I think I probably have Dougie over Uyghur myself, but surprised with how good Uyghur was last year. Everything else, just every pick I saw was like, correct. Yep, another good pick. Yep, there's a good one. And he actually grabs the Logan Cooley I was talking about with his last center to complete the 3 with Tavares, who just isn't the 94th best fantasy asset. Like, just should be higher than that. But again, center is so deep that Stützle, Tavares, and Johnston. And it's like, that's a good range for all of them. So any thoughts on any of these top 3 so far before we get into your team?
It's like the one guy who didn't know what he was doing, and then you have these 2 very logically built teams.
Yep.
So yeah, no real knocks on anyone here.
Yep. So then your team, you got blessed with Nathan MacKinnon at 4. Yeah, I don't know if the distinction between McKinnon and Pasternak's as big as people might make it out to be, and winger obviously is an important position to win, but there is not another center after McKinnon like McKinnon. So you started there, and then just go over your process.
It was McKinnon's like one of my guys. I'm going to be targeting this year. I'll definitely be overweight him, and it's going to be easy to do that because he'll probably be sitting as the 3rd drafted center. So I can just, if I need to get intentional about being overweight him, I will. And then so after that, it was since I drafted the early center, I really kind of had to get back on like aligned with how you build teams in Best Puck. So when winger and goalie got 2 really good goalies, and Shesterkin and Georgiev, and then so my wingers Marner, Kreider, Marchand. It's just kind of filling out that way. Then with defense, a lot of that was based on stacking and guys in pretty cheap pockets. So Fox is just so productive from where he's at and fits some stacking. And then kind of built out the team accordingly. Stützle, we talked about right up at the top, is like a player that kind of was a little bit disappointing last year. But when you look at the guys he's next to now, like statistically, he fits in like a good spot there. So I'm curious. This team probably won't exist. Most of these teams, I think that's one thing that's interesting about this pocket of drafting is these teams won't exist across the entire board in a couple months from now. So I'm happy with how it did and executed the objectives of drafting early right now.
Yeah, no, I mean everything's really, really good here, and like a lot of high rate shooters, a lot of guys that have high upside, and I've shown it in the past. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, of course, at the end, I guess the one pick I'd take back is the Trouba one, just because it feels like the Rangers are slightly giving up on him, and like if he goes somewhere else, he might find a bigger role. But like you already took Fox, so it's like I do think Trouba has a lot of like projectable upside with all his rates, but I just wouldn't have done that myself. I just think that's like you're almost trying to inherently bet on him moving, which they seemingly want to do, but he doesn't. And that situation just feels like enough of a mess to where I'm just going to avoid Trouba, to be honest, right now. But everything else is good. Any thoughts before? Yeah.
If not him, how would you have filled out that 3rd defenseman on this team?
I mean, I think I slightly like Forsling, and I think I would have waited on defense. grabbed either center or another winger, although no one really went that I'm all that high on, and then gone back to defense later just because I like Gostisbehere just as much. I don't know. I mean, it's fine, but yeah, I just think going with both Fox and Trouba just feels weird. Here, you know what? Let's see. Can I add all three of you? Oh, yeah, we can add Count in here too. Welcome. Okay, well, we got Michael in here as well. I don't want to leave him hanging forever. If you're ready, I'm going to bring you right in. Let's make sure you can hear. We can talk about these teams and get in the next lobby. Michael, can you hear us? He might not be ready yet. I think he's frozen. I'll mute him for now. I'll let him get set up. I'll remove him. I think he froze immediately. Oh, wait, he came back. Okay, let's try it again. Unmute. Michael, you're in the house.
Can you hear me?
We're live.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, I just thought let's just bring it in. I mean,
Yeah,
we're going to
can
go
you hear
over
me?
my perfect team, so I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to miss. I don't want you missing out on my perfect build.
All right, how you doing, guys?
Good, good. I mean, welcome, and first and foremost, congratulations on the Zamboni W coming off the big win. So the people's champ. I'm the bad guy. I've realized in the Discord spaces, the annoying original-ish champion. But you're the current champ, so wearing the crown hopefully well. You might be frozen again, but that's okay. It wouldn't be an MSP without it.
The internet issues is kind of part of the bit.
Yeah, if you don't have it, if we don't have internet issues, we did not have a morning skate podcast. So I guess I'll just keep talking because I do think he froze again, but it's honestly a really good spot.
Point. Have you ever done a morning skate pod in the morning?
I don't think so. I mean, the genesis of it was always like the morning skate is like, you know, a lot of teams, we have our morning skate. This is all the news and notes, you know, for the team, for the next game and all this stuff. And we're like, well, that's what we want to do. We just want to give like a very general understanding of the DFS slate from like what's happening right now perspective. And and then no one else ever picked up on that being a good idea because no one cared about hockey. It was really tough. But yeah, we again, we loved the name. We loved everything. We got going. We just never really got famous.
It takes time.
Patience. We'll go over my team. I'm sure Michael will rejoin. He definitely froze, but I mean, you have to have internet issues. It might also just not like having three people. That might be, I don't know. But yeah, we'll go through my team. We'll keep it moving. Kucherov, Reinhart, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone's agreeing that Reinhart's like, it's tough though, because like, who do you take out for Reinhart? Like, I don't know, right? It just feels like it's a luxury that we get Reinhart, Stamkos, Marner, Connor. Like, I just feel like all of these guys could be the right guy. So it's interesting.
So the guy that's mispriced to me right now in the second round is Panarin. I think he belongs in the first round.
Yep. It's just, I think the historical trends that are bad enough that maybe there's a concern because like he was definitely not there until this last season, but I don't think that's going away. So yeah. I mean, he's a guy that I'm definitely like. I like Nylander, like, you know, let's take Yossi out and let's be realistic. Like, I like Nylander more than Panarin, but he's definitely the next winger, like no doubter in my mind. The struggle might just be like, do I like him more than Jack Hughes? And I think I do. So I feel like I'm not going to get a lot of Jack Hughes, which is a little bit concerning because we have seen that ceiling go to the moon, and he's super young. But anyways, yeah, Demko, Eichel, Barzal. I mean, again, got my correlation with my three-man Islanders. I got my correlation with my Seattle. I got my Buffalo at the end. And the only problem is probably goaltending in general, but two pretty like one elite starter on a team that, again, last year was kind of competing for the number one team in the league for a while until Demko got hurt. And then we get our Jari and hope that Pittsburgh isn't completely useless. And then Dostal, like I said, kind of a bet on talent situation. So, well, let's just go really quickly. Noah left us, but his team's really good. Like, he knows what he's doing. He was here yesterday. His team's great. He stole Bedard for me. I was going to take Bedard over Eichel because I'm an absolute Connor Bedard slappy, and everyone knows it. But yeah, every pick here made sense. Tage, again, that was another guy that I was like, I took McCann, and I was like, maybe I could have taken Tage. I do love that bet in the mid rounds. And then Kane, he was a guy he's super high on. I think that makes sense around this range. Vetterland's interesting. I haven't taken him yet, but I do get it just because it's like more than one player might benefit from them not being an absolute dumpster fire. I don't know who S. Ploy is yet, but his draft was making a ton of sense, and then it kind of went off the reservation a little bit. I mean, I don't really care like Point, Bedard, Eichel, Crosby. Honestly, you could convince me of any of them. Towards the end, I just sort of felt like Michkov. I still think that's too early for a guy that's projected at like 46.5. I get it, but it's going to take a minute. I still just think he's going too early. Faber jumped the line quite a bit to get that correlation. Again, I like Sanderson more. I like Harley more. I mean, it's just guys I like more than that. Everything else is probably fine, though. I don't know. Any thoughts on any of these players?
No, that's all.
Are you a Brock Faber slappy? Are you jumping into that camp on Brock Faber?
I don't think so.
Good. Okay. Phew. I know Tristan's here, so we'll get to his team. I mean, Draisaitl, it is weird. I don't know where he's going to end up, but 8 does seem about right, like where he could be. And while I don't have him at 8, I don't want to be 0 to him just in case he is with McDavid and we see what he did 2 years ago again, because if he's with McDavid, it could happen. I just don't know if I love the idea of going with him and Hyman, who are just like very unlikely to correlate on 5-on-5 unless if they actually go with a super line, which I don't buy myself. But you're betting on a first power play being like so much better than everyone else that it's out of this world. Grabbed Crosby, again, fine. And then the winger run that you desperately needed. Adding another Edmonton piece, though, again, just felt like at some point maybe stop. But if you're going to overstack any team, it's probably Edmonton. Matheson is falling, but eventually someone's got to catch him. He still is great. Just the concern of Lane Hudson taking over. I'm not touching Mrazek ever, so you won't see me with him. And I'm not touching Nyquist ever, but everything else is fine. Any questions or thoughts on that?
No, not really. I mean, I think everyone here for the remainder of the draft was structurally fine. There's only a couple people that got a little funky. 1 3-8-2-3, which I think is probably fine, and then a 4-6-3-3. But everyone else kind of met the objective.
1, 2, 3. Yeah. He waited on goalie so long that he kind of had to go with a prayer. I don't think I'm buying on Alex Lyon, but like what was left. Detroit has like 5 goalies that seem like they could be useful, and I'm just not touching any of them. Moving on, McCurdy always in here as well. Went with the kind of the super goalie build. Took Caulfield maybe earlier than anyone else was going to take Caulfield, but I do think Caulfield is going to continue to move up. 33 is maybe, again, I've already talked about Caulfield so much. It's like if this guy finds a way to score at a better clip, his shooting percentage was unbelievably low last year, then we're talking about a guy that could score 40 and be just as good as Lee Forsberg, right? Like that could happen. And maybe he needs that defenseman like Lane Hudson to get him there. And if Slafkovsky's the real, right? Like it all could come together where we're, looking back at, 40% advanced Cole Caulfield, but he has not shown that elite scoring yet at the NHL level. So we got to, until we, again, if you buy on it now at 33 and he gets there, he's not going to be 33 next year. So it's an interesting debate. I will have a good bit of him. Went kind of super on goalie. I'm worried about Hedman, but they move out Sergachev, so his role is obviously going to be huge again. I'm Carlson, another one of my highest drafted players. I think that he has, we talked about it yesterday, 5 shooting percentage last year for a guy that shot the most pucks at the goalie for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know he's from the point, but Jesus, like the guy got super unlucky and is still really good. Everyone knows that. Honestly, I feel like you just took all my highest drafted players and were like, I'll get JJ Peterka too. A little bit rude, to be honest. Brock Nelson, yeah. I'm not taking any Dawson Mercer, but other than that, everyone I love. Any thoughts on any of these guys?
Yeah, he like stacked it up, and that's probably part of the Mercer pick.
With Jack Hughes.
But this is a good team. A lot of non-wingers early. which I think is more acceptable now, but as the market gets sharper, it's going to be harder to fight back against that. But that's okay. I did similar-ish.
I think, I think if you're going to do the super goalie build, it makes sense to do it with a team where you started with a Brady the Chuck, a guy that the floor is honestly so high on that, the ceiling is definitely there as well. Like he could, no one would be surprised if he ended up being a top 5 asset. But like I was saying, the floor is already to the moon. Like he's going to score so many weeks for you that it makes sense. But I just would have gone winger over Victor Hedman. Like, I don't know who it is, like whoever you wanted to take. And I know the drop off kind of happened there, but taking that defenseman later, I think would have done a bit more service to try to get an upside defenseman. That's probably the one thing I would have done. But it is what it is. You salvaged. Yeah, definitely still a good team. Broncos freak. First off, my condolences. As a Browns fan, I understand watching bad football teams, and that's why I just don't watch anymore. Who cares about that dumb sport? So best of luck. Hopefully you don't give up like I do. But we already went over it. They couldn't have had a much better start. Forsberg and Panarin is just unbelievably elite at the winger position, which afforded you the opportunity to get, I still think, one of the best values in the draft is Elias Pettersson. Like going in the 30s where he's going to end up is just going to be one of the best values. And anytime I'm double tapping wingers to start, which I did here, if I am not going goalie, which again will happen in that range when the main guys are gone, I'm probably looking at Pettersson. So that is, I think, a really good pick.
And I want to think it's like, say, it's kind of like, look at the first 3-ish rounds, like 4 rounds, like that's vision, like color wise, what you'd expect you saw last year too. So I don't think that Pettersson's going to change. Like, and that's why, like, when we're talking about on Twitter, like, are you dead if you don't have a top 4 pick? No, like Pettersson's a great pick, and you can get it from the back of the draft, and he'll sit there. I struggle to see him move up.
Me too. I know. It's like, I think if you just took out all positions, he is like 12 to 15. With positions, it really moves him to like 34. That's the kind of the question I'm debating, right? Like the guys that are going to score the most points, I think Pettersson could easily be a top 10 guy. And you get him at 34 because he's at center. Well, that's fine. You already got Forsberg and Panarin, right? So it's like that is a good bet and a good way of, I think, getting exposure to that kind of upside. Ottinger is another guy. Again, I've already expressed my reservations, but I'm certainly taking him over every other goalie that went after him. Other than like, I could convince myself of Vasilevsky, but everyone else, I think it's Ottinger for sure. Quinn Hughes, the correlation, of course, but maybe it wouldn't have gone Brock Besser as far as like, I don't know. I mean, Jarvis, I think I like more than him, and probably Marchessault as well. And you just didn't need to correlate that much with Vancouver. And probably the first guy that I'm going to be a 0 on is Mika Zibanejad. Like, until he's outside of the top 100, I'm just not taking him. I like Kadri more than him. I like Suzuki. I like Stützle, Tavares, Johnston. Honestly, maybe even Nico. Like, I think Zibanejad is probably pretty much dust at 5-on-5. Like, he's going to be so power play dependent. And I think I'm just going to be pretty much betting against him. And he's fallen a ton, but not enough for me. Any thoughts on Zibanejad, I guess, while I'm absolutely burying the lad?
I think that this is my feelings are the exact same. I hope you're not here. I don't like your team.
No, I love everything, and then Zibanejad. I was gonna be honest, like not taking him.
But it kind of gets ugly. So it's two defensemen, which maybe it works. Quinn Hughes and Sergachev, but not great. And goalies in Ottinger, but like after that, like doesn't look good. So like I don't know. Not like the Zibanejad's like going the wrong way. So that's not like the point of these drafts. But
right.
But
yeah, honestly, that might be the perfect way to put it. Is like if you didn't take Zibanejad there. And again, like I've already talked about, like it's fine. You had one center already. That's more than enough at this range, especially with the upside it had. There's no need to grab Zibanejad when you still had Aiden Hill on the board. You still had Tristan Jarry on the board. You could have built out goaltender. And if you didn't want to build out goaltender because you had Ottinger, you could have gone one more winger here and then built out goalie earlier when you weren't already way behind that winger avalanche and still gotten guys that were, solid contributing starters. Whereas you ended up getting Samsonov, who is very likely going to be the backup, and Caden Primo, who is almost definitely the backup. It's just not enough in net. And it comes for a guy that, like I said, I just find to be entirely power play dependent. And that's good power play, and the guy that will have some peaks, but the valleys were a lot last year for Zibanejad, who just went from a elite rate shooting, kind of all around contributing player to a bit of a passenger, and a guy that ends up kind of moving into more of a defensive role just because he can't do it anymore. And I'm too afraid to draft him. So unless if he was hurt and we don't know it, he gets back to form, we'll see. But I think he's probably done being an elite fantasy asset. But yeah, we went over this team in a lot of detail. CountMC is coming back. So we'll get to the final two teams quickly. The next team is one of my favorites. Just love the idea. If you're taking Makar here and you're building out defense early, waited a long time, but grabbed all of the wingers in the world to go along with it. And then kind of bets on this correlation, which I do like at this turn, like with Sveshnikov, like him getting there is probably with Aho. Let's see. Let's see if we got the man, the myth, the legend himself back in action while we're going over the last couple teams. Can you hear us, Michael?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can hear. Oh, we can hear us. There
you
you go.
hear me?
Okay, we're good. We're good. Oh, I can hear you. Much better connection now.
And awesome. Sorry about that.
It's fine.
I
It's,
just,
just gave us more time to rant.
You seem like you like it, so it's all good, hey?
But I cut out again for a second there, but I think it definitely seems a lot better. Honestly, I feel like it just doesn't like three people.
Yeah,
I think we're just going to have to kick Billy.
And then you kick me out.
Yeah, let me just mute. Yeah, I'll mute Michael for just a second, and we'll yeah, I think it just hates three people because it's getting weird on my end too. But yeah, this team is perfect. The last team should not have picked Yossi before. I would have double tapped Nylander, Panarin, and then gone from there. I think that's the better turn there, with no one getting to you. I don't know. I don't really notice anything or any players that stand out. Like all the players make sense. Everything's fine. I really didn't see anything.
The only thing I want to say is I like this goalie room. Like
yeah,
Bob, Markstrom, and then Ursan later. Like this is kind of what I would like to build.
Yeah, Urson's going earlier and earlier and earlier, and it's making me madder and madder and madder. That's actually my third guy in the three most drafted players for me. That's number 3 for me. As far as my top 3, it's Carlson, Peterka, and Samuel Urson, who I just think is definitely the starter. But yeah, no, I think this is. These are just all my guys. These are guys that have to be in here or have to have been listening to me because these are just or watching me draft and copying me because these are just all my guys again, like Sharangovich, Urson, Nico, Aiden Hill, who's just still going way too late. Yeah, just perfect. There's just no problems. Let's see what happens if I do this. Okay. So yeah, let's wrap it up here.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
I can still hear you. Thanks for having me on today. You can find all of my stuff at spikeweek.com and on Twitter at sportsvizbj. I'll definitely be back at some point. And if you ever have any like data related best ball stuff, definitely reach out to me. We got a lot of things at Spike Week that we don't put out there, but we have the data for. So definitely get into my DMs. But yeah, thanks so much for having me, DJ. This was a ton of fun.
As always. All right. Well, we'll see you next time. We'll do more drafts later on in the off season. Now let's get to the king himself. Now let's get to, I mean, what do you want to go? Michael, CountMC? I mean, what are we thinking? What do we want to go by? You're muted again. Did I do that? I may have muted you. Oh, you muted yourself. There he is. Not muted anymore. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How's my connection?
Oh, it's a lot better than it was. I wouldn't give it 100 out of 10. It's Morning Skate Podcast Ask. I mean, it's honestly couldn't be better for the show you're on. I mean, if it's not me, it's not Matt. It has to be a guest. So it's perfect. No, I was going to say, what do you want to go? Should I call you Mike? Should I call you CountMC? I mean, you're the legend. So I want to do it right.
Well, that's pretty low. You can go with Mike. That were me.
All
I
right.
can hear you. I can hear you great. The video it's just really frozen on my end.
It's okay. I'm actually a lot better with the video off. Most people tell me, so it works out good in your favor. Your video, I think it's good. So I don't know if part of the problem is me or not, but number one, I think we should probably just join a draft right now and then talk until it fills, because I am very worried about how long it's going to take to fill. So if you're ready to drop in.
Sure. So I'm gonna enter on my. I think
Yeah.
that might
Oh
be a
my
bit
God, it's
better
doing
here.
this. Yeah, no, this is the same thing that happened to me before. It was telling me that I couldn't join because of my location. And then Billy said that happened to him. Oh, waiting for Q. Holy crap. Yeah, we should. Did you drop in yet?
I'm getting a location error too.
Yeah, me too. It just started.
Okay, I'm good. I got in.
Okay.
I was the last one to get in. Actually, you know what? My looks good now. I can see myself moving out. I can see you.
I don't know what's going on. I'm actually really happy that worked out, but I don't know why this keeps happening. Yeah, it happened I was like, oh my God, like, of course, right when I'm starting, I should be able to still pull it up. But I guess we'll just have to talk on the fly. You get pick number 3. Let's pull it up. I mean, there's no sense in waiting around here. Let me go back to the drafting view. So yeah, we're right back into a draft. Thank God. I think everyone is back again. King Jelly is new. You're new. Well, I mean, first let's talk about the Zamboni win. I expected to have some time to go over all this, but I mean, first and foremost, congratulations again. And how is being the champion treating you?
Thank you very much, DJ. Feels good. It was quite a sweat, actually. I think I had the lead going into the last game, and then I knew I needed Rodriguez to do something for me. It was myself and I think it was Ray, all day Ray. He had him as well, so there's just 2 of us in the final. And it was just the right going off at the right time for me, having that leverage, and then I was just sweating Bobrovsky not getting more saves at the end of the game, because I had skin running. I had Bobrovsky too, but the guys that were on my heels, I guess I better make a pick here. Easy one.
Yeah,
the guys that were on my heels, they had Bobrovsky, and so I was just saying, you didn't get a couple more saves, and yeah, luckily I held up.
I was trying to do the math on what it would take for me and one other. I had one friend that was duped to get there, and I was like, oh, I need Draisaitl to get 4 goals and an assist at least. Like, that was just the start. Like, I was like, okay, I'm dead. Like, Draisaitl absolutely killed me in the final. So I don't know if I was like 12 or 15 or whatever, but we actually have the past 2 winners of the Zamboni and the past 2 winners of Best Puck in this draft, because AC Elliott's right at the end here. He won Best Puck. I won Best Puck the year before. You won the Zamboni, and I'm almost 100% positive. Lelek, I don't know if it's Lelek UF. I always assumed it's like a University of Florida thing. He won. Yeah, I'm almost positive that's who won the Zamboni the year before this. So I think we have 4 straight champs all in one draft. And you'll note I didn't say fake moods, because he has not won a championship, even though he tries to act like he's an expert. So yeah, we have all the best people here.
Yeah, I saw you chirping him about that. That was. I think Sam won it though, to go the year Colorado won.
Was it Sam? Oh, you're. Oh, Malik is. Who the hell? Oh my God, you're right. Was it Sam Olsen that won it? Crap. Why did I think? Malik, did you finish like second then? I feel like I remember specifically seeing that a team that was like a perfect cup final team that was yours, but maybe you lost. The cup final 2 years ago was actually kind of a absolute wild time. Yeah, but we'll get into the draft. I mean, we already have 1 pick under our belt. Yours seemed like a no-brainer. Didn't think we had to talk too much. Like, the top 3 is whatever one of them falls to you at 3. It's kind of like picking 5th this year in Underdog for football, where it's like, well, whoever gets to me, right? I guess I'm fine. For hockey, it's definitely 3. So is Matthews your 1, 2, or 3 though?
I think he's my 3. Just looking at the schedule, I really are on the schedule in the playoff weeks, but I want to be pretty flat. I think I would take David. Hope to have a little more McDavid than both of those other guys, but if I end up getting one a lot more than the other, I'll balance it out and start taking the other if I can.
Yeah. 7-7. Toronto is a 7-6, right? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it matters, but how much is an interesting conundrum. AC Elliott does do the my preferred 12-13 turn. Everything's kind of going as planned. I'm not my rank is not actually Bedard 13. I just moved him up when he was one what was he 138 or 141 or something before today. So I just had to have him where he is now. But we're getting to okay. Jack Hughes goes. Might make my decision for me, I guess. I guess I will go with Roman Yossi. I don't love it, but I'm kind of just a sucker for Yossi Forsberg. I think it's just like while it's pretty priced in, I think it just makes sense. And honestly, it's harder to get than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Yesterday, Yossi was going before Makar every single draft that I did. I know that happened here too. You can make a case for it. They got a great playoff schedule, Nashville. And then see just with how much he shoots and his scoring, like it's fine. They're pretty close. I'll take them both.
Yeah, I know. I think I like Makar more, and maybe I do it a couple times actually, where I just go with Makar over Yossi with Forsberg. But I think part of the reason is just like, what is the one thing that Nashville should do more of, and that's score goals, and that should still help Roman Yossi quite a bit. So it's probably closer than you'd think. Are there any at the top and top two rounds, any guys that you're a little bit higher on than everyone else? I mean, just to maybe give you the back of what we were talking about, I think both of us were a bit higher on Brady, maybe not 6 level, but definitely higher on Brady and Panarin. Is there anyone else, or are you kind of in those camps as well, maybe?
Probably going to be a little bit lower on Panarin. I like Brady right now, especially because Stu's going so late that you can roll a nice stack there. And then Sanderson as well. I got one of those teams yesterday. I've taken Sanderson quite a bit already. And not that I'm like not worried about Shabbat, at least a bit, but it seems like he's going to be there long term. So it's nice. You get him very late in the drafts, and Suits let him, I don't know, maybe like round 8 or something like that. And it feels good.
Yeah, the stacking is almost every stack you want seems easy besides really the way you'd probably want to do Edmonton. And then it's been a bit hit or miss, but I do actually think it's going to get more of this Kucherov-Gensel range. It's actually just going to come together nicely. So that's going to be very common. But at first it was not too difficult, but Gensel moved up so quickly that it actually became kind of hard. I do think that like these elite stacks are most certainly going to continue to get more tethered to ADP like we see in NFL though, just because they make sense and like they're really high upside. You're back on the clock again. So far, Matthews and Marner, you did get that connection. So correlation obviously matters to you. Are you in my camp of, I've probably said the same thing like 7 times now, but I keep calling correlation like eating chocolate where you should have some, but like don't overindulge? Or are you going to lean into correlation maybe even more than someone like me?
I think I'm with you. I won't do it. Stack a couple pieces together. It's fine. Like the guys, like the rush players that shoot a lot. I don't know. I mean, much do you need to stack those guys? And I like to stack my D for sure. And then some of my, like the guys that shoot, I don't think it's as necessary, but definitely want to do it when I can. I'm not going to reach for it,
Yeah, stacking defense
really
seems. I talked about this a little bit where it's like it's so easy to do because if you have an elite defenseman, they're so obviously going to be integral with every player you might want to stack them with, especially in the early rounds. And I am actually very worried about coaches being idiots all the time because all that coaches do, they exist to ruin your fantasy lineups and your daily fantasy every single night. So I just don't trust any coach to do the right thing. And when I'm saying that, I don't know if I trust them to put their best players with their best players. So it's easy though to say like I took McDavid. Holy crap! How many people are going to do this Draisaitl, Hyman, Bouchard thing? I don't like it. Okay. Before I get off track even more, I'm going to grab Sorokin because I just don't want to miss. Do you have any thoughts on the first goalies? Like, is the order it went today about what you're thinking? I mean, Hellebuck a little early, but like Hellebuck, Igor, Saros, Demko, then Sorokin, or are you going out of that range or way it went?
I'm a bit lower on Sorokin. Just you just finished talking coaches and what they do. I mean, you had Wop going with Varlamov in the playoffs and a lot more late in the season than I would have expected. But I like Hellebuck first, and then after that, I don't know. They're pretty. There's a couple guys that I like that have been going a little bit later than they should. I mean, Ottinger's one of them, starting to move up a little bit now, but I got a mid-fourth a couple times yesterday, and I don't know. There's couple guys at this turn too that I'm hoping to probably snag one of them.
Yeah,
and, I don't know how far behind they are.
God, am I really going to take Ovechkin here? I think I might. I'm not sure if there's anyone else I like enough. I think I'm going to do it. I haven't taken Ovechkin yet. I still think he should move back, obviously further than 28, but 39 feels correct. I went over him in a good detail, but I think he's probably the most polarizing player in the fourth round at this point. Are you out or in on Ovechkin?
I'm in on Ovechkin. If you can get him mid-round or later, I like it. I mean, again, they got pretty good playoff schedule. He was pretty good at the end of the year. They got some better play drivers now. You got Dubois in there. I don't really like Dubois, but he helps their center position a lot. Mangiapane, Chychrun. Washington was third. They had the third fewest shots in the league last year, and all situations. So I feel like they're a little bit improved. Give Ovi some more shooting opportunities. I mean, I don't see his game dropping too much from here. So as a guy that can still shoot the puck and put in the net, I'm pretty happy to take him.
The absence of having a second top six center at all has been filled by at least a body that maybe has a chance to be at least remotely close to a top six centers, but it's tenuous. You're back on the clock. You're goalieless, but you are sitting with Matthews, Marner, Dahlin. So filling out sort of all your colors, or are you thinking that you're going to wait on goalie?
No, I'm going to take a goalie here for sure. I think he's going way too late. So I'm taking him a lot.
There's, I think, maybe two or three things that you could point to that are hurting players right now, like where their ADP is, and injuries are just one of the most clear, obvious ones. People just not really thinking through what Vasilevsky was when healthy. That players that burned people last year, I kind of went over it very briefly, but that's certainly factoring in again. So yeah, I mean, I do think that like Swayman and Vasilevsky are going to end up kind of getting into the same pool, but like we've seen it with Vasilevsky, we've never seen it with Swayman. So I do agree. I think I go Vasi. You go with Timo. So I feel like you were a Timo slappy last year. So you're right back on the Timo train.
No, I don't. I was like even with him. I got him pretty late a couple times early, and I don't know. I was probably about even. I've taken a lot already. In my first 8-10 drafts I've done. I've got him at end of the fifth, so that's good too.
If you take Lindy Ruff, Lindy Ruff's New Jersey Devils with Timo Meier, and then you take that out and then put Travis Green's Timo Meier, they were just different players. They were not the same player at all. So I actually I'm buying on him in this range as well. I think he's the last of a tier. I think I take him over Konechny. Him and Keller are interesting to me. Him, Kreider and Keller are kind of an interesting bet. All of them kind of different of why you'd bet on them, but Timo at least hits, and the other two don't hit as much. So you get a little bit more of a floor with him. I got pretty screwed here at wing. I don't love that. So I think I'm going to default to Svechnikov, who is still going a bit too low in my opinion. 58 is maybe right, but Carolina continues to make me want to, cry every time they roll a power play out there, but hopefully they get to one power play and hopefully he's on it. Any thoughts on, I guess, Carolina in general or Svechnikov?
I've been taking Svechnikov a lot. I think he's still so young. I don't know what they're going to do with their power play this year. It's surprising to me where they finished. They very good before, and I've been taking a lot of Marty Niehs too. But Svechnikov, he was a guy I took a few times yesterday.
So obviously Aho, obviously Jarvis, but neither of them play what Svechnikov plays. So it might honestly be down to Nachos. There's really no one else I could consider being all that useful on the first power play, especially in the role they need to fill without Gensel. So I'm betting on Svechnikov being a contributing like every single night factor on that first power play. But that still even leaves potentially a spot open for Nachos to go along with Gostisbehere. So like they all could get there. I like the bet for sure. So I'm back on the clock now. We are kind of running out of goalies. I'm going to queue Markstrom just in case. I mean, I already have Sorokin, but I am a little bit less over the moon on him as well. Like I kind of like getting one more cemented starter to hopefully make sure that I'm getting enough upside, which feels really bad. Maybe I should be lower on Sorokin. I definitely, I don't want to take another guy on Nashville. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to stick with Markstrom here. I'm going to lock up 2 goalies and then not look back on it again. I do worry about Jake Allen a little bit, but you don't go out and trade a first-round pick for a goalie if you're not going to use them. So did you know that the Devils are the second, or maybe they're tied second or third for Stanley Cup odds in the East?
No, I haven't looked.
Yeah, I believe they're second. I could definitely be corrected. I honestly could, I have a phone in my hand. I believe they're second right now in the East, not overall, but it's. I
took a look like right before free agency started, and then I haven't looked since then. So I'm not sure how they adjusted. I know Edmonton was a favorite.
Edmonton's the favorite. They'll do it now that I've already bet on them to win it all. So it's Edmonton, Florida, Dallas. Okay, yeah, now it's Toronto, Rangers, and New Jersey all tied at the same odds. And the Hurricanes. So they are tied in second. I don't know why I thought, like, for some reason I was like in my head, I'm like, no, it's not.
All 4 of them are?
All 4 of them are tied at the same odds.
Wow.
You're back on the clock here. I'm guessing you're hopefully on it, but.
Actually, yeah, let me see here. Okay. All right.
Yeah. That is the other guy. I do think Seth Jarvis going from center to wing, absolutely the correct position for him, and also like it moves him up quite a bit. Like he was incredibly useful. I don't think he has the same ceiling as Svechnikov, even with him both of them being very young and very good. But like this kind of scoring is replicable. 30 goals. That's kind of crazy. He's good. He's really good. So, yeah, I'm sitting here. I mean, I'm not going to make this a podcast, so servicing the other listener doesn't matter. But, yeah, Forsberg, Ovechkin, Svechnikov, Yossi, Sorokin, and Markstrom. And then you are Matthews, Marner, Timo, Jarvis, Dolly, and Bassey. So, pretty obvious. King Jelly here loves centers. Is he going to take another one? No, thank God. King Jelly is McKinnon, Bedard, and JT Miller. While I love all 3 players in many different ways, I'm worried Konechny is not going to be enough at wing.
Yeah. You need more wingers, or you need that third center. 3 in a row, too, right?
Yeah. Pretty sure he went 3 in a row. Yeah, I saw the Bedard one. I was like, all right. I mean, that's kind of fun, but like, better not take another one. Perfect. And then Talbot, who I went over being incredibly low on. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I think he must be hurt more than we know, or is it kind of trying to get rid of him? It's to bring in Talbot. Yeah, it's not like Crystal's been all good either.
They bring in Jack Campbell, obviously complete reclamation, not going to start in the NHL. They have Husso, Lyon, and Talbot under contract and under NHL contract. Like, I don't like one of those guys going to the AHL. It's probably Lyon, but like the 37-year-old Cam Talbot's going to carry that entire. Like I worry they're going to run 3 goalies.
He doesn't want to. I know Yzerman doesn't want to do that this year. And if they sent Lyon to the AHL, he claimed he's very cheap. He's been pretty good the last couple of years. He's not an every starter, that's for sure, but I think he would get claimed.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple interesting picks. Stützle goes to the non-Brady drafter. I found that interesting. Any thoughts on Mackenzie Weegar? Because this was a guy that initially, I mean, he has moved down quite a bit, but was kind of mind-blowing to be the fourth defenseman. And then you look at it and you're like, wait, this guy actually scored so many freaking points. Like, am I wrong? Like, is he actually good? The sort of the conundrum I was coming down to. So any thoughts on Mackenzie Weegar?
I like the way that he plays. I mean, he hits, he shoots, he blocks, he scored goals last year. I don't know what they're going to do with their power play. Haven't seen Calgary very deeply. But I'm not paying for what he did last year, and I haven't taken him yet. I mean, I don't know. I would probably wait till he slips into like a 9th or 10th round. I don't know. He got back to being. I think he'd be more like. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the ADP yet, but I think he's going a couple of rounds too high at least.
Yeah, last year I'm pretty sure he was almost like an undrafted / like right at. I mean, they did have Hannafin, Anderson, and Weegar, and I remember kind of jumping in on him towards that. I wonder what he advanced at because he smashed. Hold on, let me make sure I don't miss my pick. Yeah.
They also have they got back in Vegas, Miromanov, and he was.
Miromanov, yeah.
Do you remember seeing him on their top power play a little bit at the end of this? So.
There he is.
I don't know who's going to start on that top unit, but I'm not going to. It's really not clearly going to be Weegar.
Yeah, he was pretty crazy. I am going to take Sebastian Aho to go with Svechnikov. You get to 87, and I think it's time to jump on my first center. I was actually going to take him, and then I was like, oh, wait, everyone behind me has 2 centers already. So I grabbed McCann again. I'm not sure if you heard me talking about Seattle, but I do find them to be one of the more interesting teams in fantasy because they go out, they get a new coach. They definitely should help, hopefully give more of a defined top power play, a better structure, a better game planning, and just more run for their top offensive players. They go out and they get Brandon Montour. That should help move the puck out of their zone, create more offense that you just can't get through only having Justin Schultz and Vince Dunn. But then it's like, who is actually going to benefit, right? Like, who is good enough to be relevant in this format? It's got to help McCann get back to where he was, I hope.
I think Montour helps him. I think a new coach probably helps him. I have no idea those lines are going to shake up. But I agree, they are interesting because they've been so spread out. I better pick here.
Yeah.
They've been spread out with their minutes. And they're scoring like nobody. I mean, McCann's had some weeks where he's just been white and he shoots lights out. But I don't know. Maybe they form more of a top this year.
Like I'm not going to try to figure out pulling it up right now, but his web of players he was connected to it's insane. It's like he played with everyone. He was on the 4th line at times. Like it just. Everything that could have gone wrong for that team went wrong, and their coach just was like, all right, well, I stubbed my toe. I better blow my foot off. And it's like, dude, why are you still here? Like, I hated Axtell. I literally was like, I love that they made the playoffs, and it was so much fun. And I'm like, shit, now they're tethered to this stupid coach that is not good. I know he's watching right now, so get in the comments, Dave Axtell, and let me know what you think about what I'm saying. But back on track here. You're back on the clock again. You take your Jarvis and Nachos, and now you grab Nico Hischier to go with Timo Meier and Dougie Hamilton. So just getting this high up. I mean, all of these, every team you've taken so far outside of Buffalo, of course, is a good playoff team. Is that part of your strategy as well, to take playoff teams except for one Buffalo guy?
Like teams that are going to make the actual NHL playoffs?
Yeah, this was half a joke, and also like I mean, if it's just sort of like better teams, I guess probably naturally be better players. But I also wanted to make fun of the Sabres.
Yeah, no, not really, man. I'm mostly just go by ranks, and I'm streaming for the first time. I guess not Audie, but most people probably don't know that. So it's trying to do this all once, and I'm drafting on my phone, and I never draft on my phone. So.
I mean, everyone thinks I'm streaming for the first time every time, so don't feel bad. Oh crap! This is one of those slappy center drafts. I mean, I guess if I have to take advantage of it, I will. Skinner or Patrick Kane? These are two guys I have ranked almost identical. I think I'm going to go. I think I have Kane above him. I think in the long run, once ADP is completely set, I'm going to end up with Kane there. Do you factor in? I was talking to Billy about this. Do you factor ADP into your rankings, or is that sort of just like naturally happening right now?
I haven't really adjusted them since before yesterday. But what I did is before, I mean, because we kind of knew the contest was, or I knew, I mean, just seeing what Navy was saying that it's going to launch right away. So I tried to kind of figure out what a draft would look like based on last year and, you know, kind of the positions would go and then fit that in a little bit, like bump some guys up or down, just kind of knowing where I would have to take them if I really liked them based on, because I had a lot of the goalies of like around the 2-3 turn, but I mean, if you're going to take two goalies there with their second and pick, so obviously some of those guys are going to slide, and then I'll probably adjust them a little bit later, but usually for the first 2-3 days I draft just straight off my ranks, and then I'll draft ADP for a while just so I'm kind of looking at different things. So you draft with your ranks, and if they're a lot different market, you just see the same guy popping out at you at one time. And, I try to draft more diverse, so. Yeah, we'll adjust them later, but for now, I'll just go with them.
JJ Peterka, just earlier and earlier and earlier. Are you also on the bandwagon of JJ Peterka's?
I wanted to take a couple times, but you keep taking them. Like
I know.
I got catching up. Thompson in some drafts. I think he's a good value right now, and I was hoping to get Peterka, but he was always gone before I wanted to take him.
Yep. It really, like, I've just started to notice trends with certain drafters, and you are definitely one that will not allow me to get Tage Thompson, or I believe you were also just taking every Jack Hughes and what's his name? Dougie Hamilton. That's the other one that I just kept being like, all right, next round, Dougie. And then, oh, there he goes. Perfect. Holy crap, McCurds. This is what I said on the stream the last draft. I cannot get Dylan Guenther because you sickos, you absolute degenerates will not allow it. 112. Okay, now I got to hear your Dylan Guenther takes. I'm sorry.
And his sixth already too. Interesting.
Oh my god. Are you jumping in on Dylan Guenther early or no?
Oh yeah, I took him a couple times. I got him later though, at least a couple rounds later.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna look everywhere I can find it if I can end up finding this. But like, if Dylan Guenther to lead the Utahs in goals is offered anywhere, I will be definitely betting it. He's just going to lead the Utes in goals. That's just probably going to happen. What an interesting draft. This has been, I feel like it's a lot of very good drafters, and then like there's a couple people throwing curveballs. But you're back on the clock now. Let's go back to your team, which again, I'm trying to distract you. It's the only way I can beat you in this freaking game now. It's not working. You're still killing it. Quentin Byfield. LA is an interesting team. Another one that doesn't get talked about enough. And Byfield is a buy for me as well. Another buy I can never get because of sickos. And he's a great fifth winger because his ceiling is unbelievably high.
I mean, Kopitar is getting to the end, right? And I don't know if they're gonna, maybe they change his role a little bit. Maybe Byfield plays center with Kempe. I mean, that would be pretty interesting. Not something I expect, but I think there's like a really high ceiling for him. So at this price, I want to take him a lot.
Yeah, he's going to be with Kempe, I think, for sure. Like, it just kind of comes down to, is Byfield going to take over that top center role? I mean, they're a really interesting team to watch, but I think they're definitely a team that has a lot of shoot first guys, and that's maybe the one small concern. But that might benefit if he's with Kempe. That benefits him a lot with how many assists he could pick up. So that could be big. You grab Kemper here as well to go with him. He was kind of the last goalie in the range of guys I like. I don't know who else could possibly start there. Like, is LA bad?
Rittich is back. I think they're, I don't know, kind of like a fake contender. They just don't get enough high danger. I mean, they're still Like last year, their forward group was so deep. I mean, now you get rid of Dubois. He wasn't an anchor by any means. Like you look at his position, obviously it's very disappointing for fantasy last year, but he only played like 15 minutes a game. I don't know how much he played on the power play. And I don't like him, so I don't advocate for him. Losing him certainly kind of, thins him out a little bit because brought in Fogle, right? And then I don't know anybody else. I know Edmonton, like they take a heat for who they brought in the summer on the podcast I listened to.
Wait, I think you cut out for a second there. You were talking about Edmonton.
Oh no, Edmonton for LA.
Oh yeah. This draft has really been a center. Just let's take all of the centers, and I'm really just gonna have to take like Elias Lindholm right now. Lindholm or Hintz? Who do I believe is actually good and who is a fake good player? You know what? I have 0 Rupe Hintz, and I'm just gonna screw over whoever took Jason Robertson. I apologize. Who the hell took Jason Robertson? Well, they could have had him. They decided to not take him. That's their fault. Who took Jason Robertson? Okay. You know what? They made a mechanic that helps you find this out. The Pasternak drafter. Oh, they already took 3 centers. Ugh. Okay. Let's get back on track. So, man, I don't like this.
I like Hintz. I like Hintz. I think everyone just thinks Wyatt Johnson's gonna take over. Maybe his role is gonna reduce, and like this price is for him. And I mean, maybe they play all 3 together. I don't know that that's the best thing for them to do, but that would be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, the problem with Johnston was definitely taking faceoffs, and they just were like, well, Jamie Benn can do it from one side really well, so we'll just anytime that we can let Jamie Benn take a faceoff, we'll get him out there to take it, and then we'll move it right back. And I don't know, maybe he works on it over the summer. It's impossible to know, but Dallas is a really good team, so I don't mind buying on them in some way. So coming down to the wire here, I'm definitely not buying on Jamie Benn, though. That being said, crap. Someone actually took Joseph Wool. Okay, I didn't see it. It's getting ugly all around. Everyone's just becoming too sharp. I think I'm just going to jump ahead of the line and grab Sharangovich, who is just going to continue to move this way. The rates were continued to go up. I think he's still a 30-goal scorer, and I don't want to miss out on Wing any longer to get my 6th guy in. Do you have any preference between him and Velarde? That's kind of my biggest debate there.
Oh, I like Velarde better.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to take him touch because he seems to me like he might Mark Stone, like he's got some back problems. I'm worried he's going to miss time every year. That's it. After I just don't want to draft him too much, and in these early drafts where it's so chaotic. I mean, kind of settled down now, but that's one thing I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing too. Is just taking the same guys that are further down the draft that I think are way better value than it. I think you can get more value in the early rounds, and then in the draft season, then you can hammer those guys more if you want. But there's guys that are like free in this that are pretty wild to me.
Yeah. So I mean, let's continue on that then. Are there any like 100% strategy? Just looking at your draft right now, everyone could probably be a little bit different as far as the structure you're going to go off of because you picked 3rd, so you started with Matthews. But is there anything that you're doing more of early on as far as like it's the spreading the wealth early? Because I know that was one mentality that was talked about a lot of like make sure you get a lot of all the positions somewhat early and then focus on wing. Is that kind of a strategy you're focused on right now with how much value you're talking about late in drafts?
I did push wing. I did wing a little bit because I thought there was a lot of options late. He's been a little bit different since the things have sold. Okay.
I'll let you pick first again. Trying to distract you so I can win this stupid contest, but it's not working.
Well, I just have him ranked so much higher than we're going here. So whatever. I'll just take
I do. I know. Those are the two guys at this range that I just continue to fall back on. And I feel like I've just, every time I've taken Sharangovich, I was wondering where you had him because I lean that way. And maybe it's just the factor of the health that's just getting in the way because when Velarde's healthy, he's playing with this guy right here, Kyle Connor. And that is unbelievably lethal. So, and net front on the power play.
He's in net front on the power play. It's fun to watch him. Like, he's got to get hands for a big guy, and he'll just do that move, where he'll roll up high, get him the puck right on the goal line, and, he'll make moves in front of the net, or he'll find Connor on the back door. It's pretty fun.
What is your favorite? What's your favorite team? I don't even know. Top of my head.
Detroit.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you just didn't want Patrick Kane? I mean, I usually let him fall to me at ADP.
Who did I take that ever out?
His hip is fine.
Oh, right. Good take. I can. Where's it?
That's right. Are you from Detroit?
No.
Okay, so you're
trying to distract me again here.
I know. You just like good teams that win Stanley Cups, probably. I don't understand.
Just a second. I got what I want to do.
Oh, no problem.
All right. I don't know where he's gonna, but
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you might. Yeah, I think this is a good buy on this type of team because, I love Theodore. I took him in like my first draft, and I was like, I'm so sneaky, and then I was like, you gonna start over Hannafin? Maybe not. I don't know.
I feel like they're so thin. They're so thin wing. But he's a hell of a player. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do.
The bull case on Vegas, really the main two defensemen. I think it kind of comes together as we just think back to Bruce Cassidy's first year when they funneled so much offense through two defensemen. And now maybe that Pietrangelo can't quite do what he did before, that like both could get there, especially at where they're going. So I still think it exists for sure. I'm not that worried about it, honestly. Defense has died entirely too, which is very sad.
Yeah, I haven't figured out who my targets are going to be. They didn't draft for D yet. I mean, there's a couple guys here that I could have waited for, but I was pretty happy to take the door there. I mean, his upside's huge.
Yeah, I grabbed I was like, oh crap, I'm out of goalies, and then my saving grace, Samuel Harrison, just sitting right there for me, waiting, beckoning for me to answer the call. So I grab Harrison. The Decord debate's been interesting. The Korchekov versus Anderson is interesting, but I feel like I'm just so much more confident in Harrison starting over Fedotov that I just prefer him, honestly. Like, how bad does Philly have to be for Harrison to be useless? And they could be pretty bad, but I'm kind of betting on them not being that bad.
I think okay. I mean, they'll compete again. Torts gets to compete until they're tired of him, and then he's out the door. Not so different from the coaches, but I still know defense. They're not that good up the middle of the ice, but they're a good position team. They got some shooters, and we'll see what Michkov is like. So I think they'll be okay.
All right. I got scared there for a second. The guy I made a tweet about earlier today was Thomas Harley, where I was like, the NFL best ball bro. I'm not sure if anyone, I'm guessing you could have caught that, but I was like, I just laugh all day at NFL best ball bros talking about the most useless chump players in the world. And I'm just sitting here drafting Thomas Harley in round 14. That's going to score like 17 goals from the point this year. It's wonderful. So I do the hints, Harley, that to go along with Yossi and Carlson. I have, 45, 50 goals in this defensive core. I do love that.
Let me take a look at your team.
Pull up the board again. I mean, it's a league winner. It just, is it going to win the whole 25K is the question. Yeah, I mean it's the perfect team every time. Oh my god, get out of here! I hate that feature on these stupid computers. I don't want it. My rant about the news was fun. I'm not sure if you were here for that part, but you're back on the clock.
I did hear that. Well, it's had a little bit of connection. Okay, this one's for you then.
Boom.
For Moods.
Easy. Yeah, I mean Moods is much more of like I think Quinn gets that first power play run over Paterka, and I'm just like I think both. Like I'm fine. Like I don't know, like maybe not both, but I think Paterka is gonna get the run no matter what. I just don't think they're the same player. So like, could Quinn get in over a Tuck? And like that's where I worry about a guy like Alex Tuck losing role maybe more than I worry about Paterka. The Sabres are just they could be anything under Lindy Ruff. I mean, if they put Jordan Greenway in front of the net, no one's going to be surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know who would they low. I mean, do you think Cousins put a bumper?
I don't. I'm trying to like. I try to like forget what happened last year in Nashville as much as possible because, or not Nashville, in New Jersey last year as much as possible because that was the worst experience in my life watching that team completely fall apart after me being like, I think this is the Cup favorite going into the year. But they seemingly, I think, actually put their best players. Oh, yeah. But that was his fourth center. He had McDavid and Johnston and Nugent Hopkins, and he's like, I gotta get one more. Don't do that. Oh, all right. You take Cousins to go with Quinn. That's what I did last draft. That was exactly the correlation I did last draft too. Yeah, I don't know. This Sabres team, it could be anything. It really could be anything. The one thing I'm confident in is that there will be a very defined top six and a very defined bottom six. And that was the point I was making earlier about Cousins and Quinn is like, if Cousins gets there, it's almost definitely coming through Quinn, in my opinion. And that correlation is really good. And what happened last year with Dylan Cousins is they're like, all right, Dylan, you need to take away Crosby. You need to take away McDavid. And he just isn't that good. And he's not that good defensively. And he struggled mightily and then just completely lost his ability to score. So I'm willing to buy back in on him for sure. And I think it comes directly with Jack Quinn. So that is a buy I'm making together a lot at the end when I need it.
A lot of these guys, young players, it's not like, linear upwards, right? Like every single year take a step and then, when they have that first year of relevance and then they step back, then I think people adjust to and then they push him down too far. Like he can outperform a lot of guys going ahead of him. And I'm gonna take a little bit when it makes.
I feel like I'm missing someone, but I'm just gonna take Jonathan Drouin because I'm not finding the person I'm probably missing. Yeah, Winger died. That is tough. I just don't want to add another freaking capital. We already went over how I just feel like if you're adding 3 capitals to your team, you've done it wrong. You've made a mistake somewhere along the way. They just don't have enough volume. Then I already have Ovi and Carlson. I mean, like maybe there's a narrative of that they get there, Wilson comes with them, but I don't think it's going to be as impactful. Whereas like Drouin comes back and the power play role could be there and everyone could be happy again being a Drouin slappy. And he actually shot the puck last year.
Yeah, more than he ever has, right?
Now we get to the next toughest debate. AC Elliott's probably taking a center here, so he's going to take one of my guys. I'm pretty sure. I'd like to correlate if I could, but I don't really think I'm going to be able to. Center died. I mean, I think again, like it's just we're already getting to a point where it's getting more and more difficult to actually get the players that we were. I mean, you're just not getting the same quality of player late as we were. So yeah, I went over how I really like Fantilli and Cooley probably the most in this back tier, just from an upside perspective. But there are some good rates guys that are around. Pinto probably comes to mind the most as like another really good buy. Do you have any preference? but I mean, I don't think you need a center anymore, right? So you're not giving anything
No,
away.
I'm done.
Pinto, Cooley, Fantilli.
Yeah, I like Cooley. He's a good distributor. I think he's going to be good. There's lots of opportunity for him. I like Fantilli too. I've taken him yesterday. I like Hurdle too, actually. I took Hurdle because you can stack him late with Hannafin. That's kind of nice.
Not on Shane Pinto.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about Pinto yet. I mean, I've been taking Sutsla decent amount.
Yeah.
What's Norris? Like, is he gonna be back? Is he?
I don't know.
Supposed to.
The rumor was that they were trying to move his contract. That wasn't a good sign for me. Is that rumor true? I don't know, but I think it scares me enough that I think I'm actually going to move to Cooley over Pinto. But the Fantilli versus Pinto thing is interesting because if I'm betting against Norris being healthy or relevant, then Pinto is probably the obvious guy to take over the second line and the first power play spot that is vacated. Like, who else is going to fill it? I don't know. Fantilli is an interesting buy, though, because they get Monahan, which is going to go with Gaudreau. So that makes me worried. Like, who's going to play with Fantilli? Oh, my God, that's not really what I want. I want Columbus Blue Jackets. And then what about the Boone Jenner of it all? Are they going to actually finally trade Boone Jenner? Is Fantilli going to play the wing this year? Yeah, a lot of question marks. And Columbus kind of sucks. Oh, you have Levi.
I don't think trade Jenner. How many years left on his contract?
2, I think. Cat friendly, rest in peace.
Yeah, that's
Boone Jenner contract. 4 years, signed in 2021. So, yeah, I know. Thanks, Cat friendly. Thanks for leaving me when I needed you most. Okay. So, yeah, next year. This is the last year. No, 25, 26 is the last year. Okay. We can go into pop this out. I don't know. I still think I lean Cooley. I think that's the guy. I mean, again, like, what's the biggest bull case you could have on Fantilli is incredibly hard to probably make comparatively to the easy connection in Utah of Cooley just being the top line with Keller and I mean, everyone's going to say Schmaltz, but I still want it to be Gunther. But I think that's their best top line. We'll see what it is, but if they go Hayton and Keller and they go Cooley and Gunther too, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's just obvious outs to Cooley being in the clear top 6, clear defined top power play. Where Fantilli, I think it's probably top power play, but I worry he's not going to get a lot of 5-on-5 run. With good
who's their coach now in Columbus? Who did they hire?
No one.
They're still vacant?
Yeah, they're still stinking. It's time. I have no idea. Is there any rumors? Columbus Blue Jackets head coach. Let's look. What are they up to? I have heard 1 day ago, narrow head coaching search. Todd McClellan no longer a candidate to coach the Blue Jackets. So, okay, the only obvious candidate is supposedly not going to be the coach. Yep, negotiations broke down. They're not going to go with. How does that even, McClellan? Where are you going to go? Okay, I don't know. They can't hire a head coach. Is Joel Quenneville going to be their head coach? Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Sorry, the article just goes to that. Yeah, they don't have good players. They don't have a coach, and they have this super, potentially super fantasy prospect. And it's such a mess. I feel bad. I want Columbus to be good. It's fun when bad teams are good. I'm a Sabres fan. Are you still with me? You ready to go over the draft, though?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just gonna see. Trying to get the chat going. I'll just fool it around with this here. I try not to touch too much because I'm worried that my connection's going to guess again. But yeah, let's review it.
All right, we'll start with King Jelly, who just went insano mode. I mean, McKinnon, Bedard, JT Miller. I believe he never took another center. Yeah, he ended the draft with all wingers and one goalie, but it's a little bit late when your top three wingers are now Konechny, Gaudreau, and DeBrusque. It's not going to get there at wing. You're going to need McKinnon, who you took one, to be the number one, which could happen. But man, yeah, you just can't take three centers like that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, you can never do that. I mean, your one of your top three picks is not going to score every single week, so it's just not a good way to do business. Not a good way to build a team.
What were your thoughts on Talbot again? I just want one more time because I'm feeling I'm completely fading him. And you said what again? I just want to make sure.
I think he's going to start probably, I don't know, 5 to 60% of the game.
Yeah.
So what is that? I don't know if that gets into 50 starts. We'll see. Right. I mean, Lyon, and he's on the last year of his contract. If he's no good, I mean, Kosa was pretty good in the AHL here, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets called up and gets a few starts. Like I was saying, like Husso, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I feel like he must be hurt more,
The Yzerman, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I don't understand why you have 5 goalies that could conceivably play in the NHL, but the dream moves on, and they're closer than the Sabres probably. But we move on to team 2. I'm guessing that is C win next. I don't know. Close enough. He gets McDavid too. McDavid normally the 101 goes with Stamkos, Connor, Keller, Swayman, Bester, Morrissey, Batherson, no problems. We don't get to a problem until right at the end here. Johnston, Ingram, I'm a little bit hesitant on. I'm not crazy. I definitely go Kemper like you took over him, and maybe Montembeault. That's a bit more debatable. Just it feels like kind of a one-hit wonder. Like Vichmelka's young, he can still play. He wasn't bad. Just Ingram got crazy hot at one point, but doesn't seem like the future there. Sergachev, fine. Kind of started to bet on Utah. Nugent Hopkins, you just can't take another center. And I know it kind of got in your way, and you end up kind of getting into a bit of a Sabres stack, which, while I love to see, I worry could disappoint because they really only disappoint me. So you should be fine. Yeah, just there's no need to take a fourth center here. Like you needed another winger. I don't know. Good team, but just kind of missed at the end. And, I just messed up. Any thoughts on team 2 before we get into your team? Or did I lose you again? Oh boy. Oh, that's not the right thing. I'm not sure if it's me or not.
So you're cutting out for me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, I don't know if it's you or me. I really don't know. Anyone in the chat, let me know if anyone's cutting out. Or maybe we're both not cutting out, but we're cutting out for each other. That happens with me and Matt sometimes. I'm still here. Hello? Hello? I still hear you. And the chat is buzzing. I don't want to post comments. Did something break? Yeah, my mic's still working. And that's still working. Okay, I'm good. You were just good. Where'd you go? Can anyone in the chat tell me if they can hear both of us or neither of us or one of us? Oh, he disappeared. All right, I'll carry on. Now I don't see him at all, which makes me feel like he's not here. Yeah, so back. Add to stage. Okay.
Was that on my end? Did I?
Yeah, we got a couple people that said that was on your end.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, you're back now.
I think I lost you at the end of. You were talking about the 2 spots.
Mr. Or it could be CWI Next. I'm gonna go with that. Mr. Next here. Ruined you.
Hockey.
No, his team is like again, everything is good. I just don't understand why you take Shifley there. Like, I don't know. I would have taken a winger. There's still wingers on the board. Like you still had St. Kelvin. That was kind of a guy I was hoping could get back to me, and I think I go that route. But let's talk about your team. We're ready to hear it. The winning team. Let's go.
All right. Austin Matthews going to lead the league in goals once again. We got Rastallin. I think Sabres team that's, nobody was very high on last year. They kind of disappointed, but I think they're very good offensively. You got a historically great coach who supports high-scoring teams. So I feel like that's really good for Dahlin. It's for Jack Quinn and Dylan Cozens as well. I got a Meyer bounce back. I got an Andre Vasilevsky bounce back. I got Jarvis, up and coming wing who took strides last year, scored 30 goals, looking to continue. Another bounce by in Dougie Hamilton as my number 2D. He's that I think could be right there with. Well, I think he can be ahead of Quinn Hughes and Fox and Edmund, honestly. So we'll just see how their power play goes, but I'm pretty in it. HS, again, a lot of trade rumors around him, but he's really fast, great shooter. If he gets more power play time, I think he's got a big ceiling as well. And then Byfield, I guess, who's my number 5 winger, another big upside swing, I guess, kind of establishing him as a scorer now. Ketter, bounce back for goalie 2. Velarde, another guy, he can score. I think he's undervalued right now by the market. Theodore, we don't know what's going to happen with him, but I think he's a really good D. And then, like I said, Jack Quinn and 4 Sabres DJ with Evan Levi.
I know that was.
I hear he was last year. He was very good at the end of the year. His advanced numbers are very good. So, I mean, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was awesome too, but I don't know. Let's go Levi. I got a couple older goalies, so hopefully he can come on at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the problems in Buffalo is figuring out goaltending because it could go either way. Levi dominated in Rochester. It was sort of like everything you wanted to see out of Levi you saw, and we just never got enough of him in the NHL to feel good because Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen just took over, and it seemed like they were really trying to give him the run that he needed to see if he could be an NHL starter. They didn't sign him still. He's still like going to arbitration. So that could also be just a situation where the team doesn't see the value the player does. And that might mean that Levi is just because they know they want to give him more run. I'm scared about both of them. But Levi as your last goalie, one of the last picks in the draft is a good, decent bet, I think, just because we've only seen it in a very short window for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who didn't seem like he was ever going to be the NHL guy we thought in juniors. So that's interesting. And yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a Buffalo slappy, and I'm going to have a ton of JJ Peterka. But when I don't get Peterka, the Quinn Cousins thing I love. The next team.
And you know what? I had a team with UPL into the finals last year too. So.
Yeah, he was really good. Why are my jerseys falling though? Henderson, stay. Yeah, no, the Sabre, I feel like you could poke a hole in every Sabre and you could also build up every Sabre. And it's just in this type of a vacuum, in this type of a contest, when most of the Sabres are going pretty far down the line, you're kind of just betting on, like you said, Lindy Ruff actually being a really good offensive driving coach with his top guys, which we definitely have seen with Taylor Hall and Jack Hughes in previous years. And last year just fell completely off the rails. So who's going to be the big benefactor? I'm betting on it being players surrounded by Tage Thompson personally, but it could honestly just be Dylan Cozens getting back to form. A guy that I remember when I talked about him going for Jason Robertson a couple years ago before Robertson signed, it seemed like there was a chance and people wanted my head. And then he dominated and everyone's like, you idiot, you dumb, stupid. And now it's like, yeah, but he could be right back. Like people were looking again, like people thought that was insane because of how good Cozens was. We can move on to Home. It's probably Home, right? Home. I see him in every draft. So he might be in here. So Mr. Home or Mrs. Home. Pasternak Robertson, just talking about him. Robertson, I do think still is in this threshold, even though last year was a bit disappointing. Crosby still as dominant as ever. Kreider, Trocheck, Fox. You got your correlation, I'll tell you that for sure, but maybe not as 5-on-5. But then again, I mean, I'm pretty out on Zibanejad, so maybe Trocheck sees more run with guys like Kreider moving forward. Barshands with the Pasternak, Zibanejad. I maybe a step too far in that Rangers direction. I think you're kind of getting a little bit over the top at this point with Rangers, but it is what it is. I'm really high on Erik Karlsson. That's one I kind of wanted to bring up as well. Are you feeling like Erik Karlsson at 100 is a good value? Because I keep finding myself taking him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I kind of like him in just a little bit after the Fox and Hughes and Dobson and those. Like, I think you can make a case for him, depending on where he goes, but like late round 7 to round 8, no problem.
Yeah, he had the highest individual Corsi for per 60 for the Penguins last year, shot 5%. We know what he can do, and that's not 5%. So hopefully if they are good, it's a good bet on him to be very good. So when you take Crosby.
Yeah, they just got to figure their power play out terrible last year.
Right, 100%. And it should be him. But again, if you take Crosby as your 28th pick, you're betting on him being that level of talent. It's probably Karlsson being back at, again, a level that at 100 we're not going to find. So McAvoy at the opposite end of the spectrum a bit, where it's like the ceiling is not that high, but the floor is really low. And you have another guy kind of with a similar Adam Fox. The issue is, as we just saw, I mean, no goalie until Montembeault, and I think Mrazek's a backup. So goaltenders where it falls apart. Well, because they picked up Laurent Brossoit and they paid him. Like, I think it's because Mrazek isn't good. Like, I think Mrazek wasn't an NHL starter last year and actually hampered Chicago more than they actually output. But with how many starts he just had enough useful games. So yeah, I think they realized that if they actually want to be any level of competitive, they had to get someone. Is Brossoit going to be as good or better? I think yes. So I think it's just going to be more of a 60-40. So I think that goes to Brossoit myself.
I think I'd push back on that. I think Mrazek's okay. I think Brossoit, he's never been a starter in his career, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to be a first, but I think probably pretty close to a split. Like Mrazek, he's how many games did he play last year, and how many years does he have left? I think it's going to be a split, honestly. And Mrazek's probably a little bit too high because he put up good points last year, and his ADP was pretty high, and he just hasn't adjusted on yet.
What did they? Yeah, Brossoit was a 927 save percentage goalie last year. What was the contract? I mean, I know Brossoit was really good last year. It felt like someone was going to give Brossoit a nice deal to back up, and yeah, 2 years, 6.6. He gets going to Chicago. That's fine. I mean, I agree. I don't think it's going to be, maybe 60-40% is a little bit off, but 50-50 seems right. And I'm not buying on the potential 50% in Chicago goalie over a lot of guys. I mean, Harrison, Wolf, maybe not Wolf, but actually, to be fair, I guess 141 where he went is much lower than I've seen him. He's going way too early. I think he's finally starting to fall enough, but I'm not buying on him at all. I just think this is a guy that like legitimately couldn't play anywhere, including like Carolina.
There's a lot of ambiguity here. Like, I'd say right after Montembeault, it's like Kemper, Holm takes Montembeault, and who do you really feel good about? A guy who starts 60% of the games after that. Like Toronto bought in Stolar. Stolar's same kind of idea as Brossoit. It's just not quite as established as Mrazek. It's just these guys, sometimes when you're the backup, you get softer starts, and that kind of helps to inflate your numbers. But I don't know. I just kind of mix these guys, take whoever's cheaper.
Yeah, I waited, and I got my guy in Harrison. This is definitely going to be over and over again. There's one draft here. I'll let everyone find out, I guess, on their own. But one person that's in a lot of my lobbies that's taking him a little bit earlier than I will. But he seems to slip. It's like the one guy that gets forgotten about. And there is a backup. Like Fedotov at least is a guy that has some pedigree, and he is like 26. Just has only played one NHL start, so might take a little bit longer. And they just don't have cap space to get another goalie in Philly. So it does feel like, and they gave Fedotov a good bit of money to make that problem exist. So that's my bet here at the end. Decord maybe the second, but Grubauer exists still. I don't know. Goalie is really, really hard to suss out at the end of drafts. And all of these feel like a stab. Which stab do you feel the best about? And I don't mind your mentality of like, I have them all around the same, so I'll take a stab at all of them. Just because you're not going to give yourself a massive disadvantage if one of these goalies truly does, and any of them can.
Yeah, and it's not in a vacuum with any of these guys, really. Like, I like Logan Tom there, like Charlie Lindgren. Do we really think he's going to do what he did last year at the end of the season? Like, no, that's who else? I mean, you get goalie come up every year that produce really good seasons that aren't being drafted. We just had Connor Ingram, and Lindgren didn't do it for a full season, but Joey Dick was really good for most of the year. Like, there's be guys, and it's very hard to predict. So that's not like an area where I'm like, okay, I know best it's going to be. I'm just gonna take a bunch of different guys.
Yeah, and I mean, you could make the case for so many of these guys, but I do think that like if you had to like gun to head say like which one is going to start the most games, I'm just going to say Harrison every time. So I'm going to go with him. And Mrazek is in that ballpark, I guess, but I think I'm going to fade him myself. We get on to Malik, who's in the chat, who I thought won that didn't win. So sorry, Malik, for thinking you were as good as I guess you're just not quite as good as I thought you were. So you're going to have to show up this year and prove me right. And this is a great draft to do it because you went Kucherov, Gensel, which I do love that start. I'm not sure if you're a little bit lower on Gensel. I'm pretty much fine with where he's going and definitely like him more as a stacking mate because it's getting there at pick 20 means he's playing with Kucherov at 5-on-5, which does seem to be like that's going to be what they do. Gets Igor, who the goal, like, and again, I think you agree as well. Like the goalies should be going earlier than they are right now. You're taking advantage of that. Everyone got a little bit of that, I think, in the third round here. So no problem. I love Boldly. I just talked extensively about why I like Matt Barzal as much as I do. And then Marchessault to start. So starting with that 5-0-5-0-1. Any thoughts on any of these guys?
This team or on the goalies again?
Just I guess the top 6 rounds, and then we'll get into the rest. Is there any of these like are you a Gensel guy? I guess that might be one of the more polarizing picks here, but going with Kucherov just makes too much sense, I think, to pass up. But I do think there's enough people that are kind of out on Gensel at this pick. But
no, I don't see any reason to be out on Gensel. I mean, their power play is going to be different. I mean, you take a right-handed shot off that left side, like Stamkos, who's honestly one of the best ever to do it. And then you add a lefty like Gensel's. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I mean, those guys have been so good together for so long that, they're going to figure it out. And 5, he's awesome. He's great off the puck, like Kucherov's such a good passer. Point's such a good driver. I have no problem taking Gensel there. I have him right there. Like I got Robertson ahead of him, I think, but just by a little bit. And then, and then on this guy's team, we talked about Uyghur earlier. I really like the Marchessault pick. I like him a little bit less this year than I did before. Last year I took him a lot, kind of in the same range. This year I don't know. I mean, if he's playing with, they leave that top line intact and then they play him and Stamkos and Novak. I mean, that's a big downgrade from Jack Eichel. Any way you slice it, it's a big downgrade from Jack Eichel. So I'm a kind of buyer beware guy with Marchessault, so I don't know how much I'm going to end up taking him.
Yeah. No. I mean, Nashville in general, it's like how many mouths could get fed in the top 6 round because it's like their whole power play is going to have to eat, which I guess could happen, but I don't know. I mean, clearly, ROR isn't going to shoot the puck ever again because of what they've done here. But yeah, it's hard to find the path to them all succeeding. So I'm fine with that take. But it is sort of like the tier gap. Like Marchessault kind of felt like the faller. So getting some exposure that late because he's still going to be up with what he did last year, people are still going to take him. After that, I'm a fan of Gustafsson. I'm debating between him and Jari quite a bit. I've gone Gustafsson, I've gone Jari, but definitely, going with Igor, getting one more elite starter, and then they got a high upside piece. Maybe would have gone Kemper, but I don't know. Defense did pretty sound job getting a lot of minutes, but Forsling is a bit of a question mark this early. Like, I do love him and I've taken a lot of him, but at the very end, Center just feels weak to me. I normally never catch myself saying that, but
Kadri's top guy. Kadri, that's pretty weak. I don't know. And you get a little more center here, I think.
Yeah, with how easy it is right now to get at least one unbelievably elite center, I think leaving with a half of one is tough.
He took 5 of his first 6 picks, right? So in that of a situation, I think it's okay to take 4 centers.
Yeah, this might be the time.
More upside there. Like O'Reilly's not. His upside's pretty small.
Both of them, and I get that you bet on Anaheim at the end, but it's not enough. Still a really good team though. Like, I love this team. It's just, I think that would be the one chance to get 4 centers, or take out Marchessault and draft. I guess you missed out on Tage, but like, I don't know. We can move on. I want to get you out of here too, and I'm going on 3 hours. Very cool, very normal stuff in July. Talk about hockey this much. I
was watching a stream, and that's good for the algorithm. The longer streams.
Yeah, they're all going to get watched all the way through. And I'm gonna catch Mr. Beast in no time. I have actually heard of Mr. Beast. I've never watched any of his videos, but I did like my joke. I did the math on his 300 million subscribers, and I'm like, I'm pretty far. Brady goes 6. I don't think I'm going that far yet, but I do tend to agree that he is not 10 or 9. Kaprizov and Rantanen, I still maybe take over him, but it's really close between those 3. Like, that is the tier gap after Kucherov, and then I would lump in Draisaitl, but I'm fine with it. If you want to make a bet on him, like the second leading player in hits or third leading player in hits, along with a elite rate shooter that just never has gotten enough points to be as relevant. But with that being said, he's young and there's a lot of talent around him. And if it does happen, then he's going to win best puck. Like, if he hits 50 goals, it's over, So no problem there. Hellebuck, Bobrovsky, figured out center a little bit better, but this is it's an interesting build.
What do you think about Kempe? Do you have him there? Or do you have him like Caulfield? What do you think of those guys?
I think it's a pretty big gap after Connor. I have not taken Kempe yet, and that's mainly because I wouldn't have taken Hellebuck at 19. So I probably wouldn't have fallen into that situation. Like, I think at 19, I would have taken Jason Robertson, Jake Gensel, one of the two there. So I would have found myself taking a goalie in that spot where Kempe is, and that kind of just keeps happening. Where I don't want to miss on that one more level up of winger so much that I'm just not taking a goalie there. So that's probably the change I'd make with this team more than anything else. I just don't think Kempe's pick 30, and I love him, but I don't know where he fits. And it's probably where Caulfield is. It's like, we've seen the finishing with Kempe, so he's probably right where he is as far as the echelon of wing, but 30 just feels early.
Yeah, it does. I mean, gets all rates that you like. Their power play is pretty good. I don't know that he's got much more of a ceiling. Maybe Byfield can unlock, that would be fun, but I'm not taking him over Ovechkin ever.
No. Yeah, that's. Well, yeah, I guess we'll get to Ovechkin here in a little bit. Yeah, that is tough. I know. It feels like Caulfield could become a better version of Kempe. Will he become a better version this year? And you're really not making a huge bet either way, so it is what it is. And then Ovechkin has been much better than both of them. So will he get back to that form? Team's really good. I don't really have any problems with it. Structurally and I kind of already said I like Brissois, and I don't mind betting on him in this build. He already had 2 elite goalies, so everything's good.
Yep.
you kind of got screwed on Stützle just going early. Like you probably were just pegging him at 91, and unfortunately someone jumped you. And we'll just get to that guy's team because I want to keep this moving because it is almost 10 o'clock and I am going on 3 hours. Holy crap. It doesn't feel like it at all. It feels like I just started. I just looked up at the clock. I was like, wow, there's like five people in here. Just
and if I tried that, people would have logged off out go. So good for you.
Oh my God. Yeah. I told Numi tens of people needed me, and here I am. Mikko and Reinhardt. I feel like I was like, maybe I thought I was higher on Reinhardt than others, and I'm realizing I'm actually maybe even lower on Reinhardt than others. But I mean, I think 18 is the right spot.
Didn't you take him? Didn't you take him with Buck yesterday in one of our drafts, like at the 12-13 or the 11-14, something like that?
Doesn't sound like me, but I mean, I'm not taking him over Panarin ever, so that would be. I did take him once pretty early. Let's see, how much Reinhardt do I have?
I think you did. Let me see if I can.
Oh boy, that would be. Let's take a peek here. I have one Reinhardt team before the draft I just did, so that's. I don't have him.
Maybe somebody else did.
Yeah, that seems like that wasn't me, but if I did, then boy, do I have some explaining to do because I definitely am going Panarin. Let's find my one other Reinhardt team. This would have been the one. Yeah, I did the Chuck Reinhardt. I did Reinhardt 14, so that must have been right after Panarin went. 10, 11. Yeah, the turn was Nylander Panarin, and I decided, screw it, I'm just going to take the Chuck Reinhardt at 14, which is early. I just honestly, I think at the end of the day, I'm just struggling to take Jack Hughes at 14. Yeah, that's definitely the earliest I've taken Reinhardt for sure. But 14, I took him with Matt the Chuck, and I know it's a weird correlation, but the power plays where Reinhardt's going to eat and the Chuck feeds him, so I don't really care. That may have been a bit of a mistake. I was very debating on either of the defensemen, but I just don't want to be crazy overexposed to Yossi or Makar. And I feel like if you just continuously take either of them at 14, you're going to get there. So I'm spreading the wealth and I'm trying to just take as much Panarin as possible there, but it just didn't happen. So yeah,
no, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think it's bad. I mean, like how much worse does he project than Gensel, Robertson, Marner, Stamkos? I don't know. He's not going to shoot the lights out like he did last year, but I have him as like a
Hyman
2-3 turn pick.
Yeah, I mean Hyman too. It's like if you're going to score 50 again, I don't know who I'm betting on more. I guess you could say, well, one plays with McDavid, but the other one feels like a number 2 overall pick that's getting to its peak and kind of has that pedigree. I don't know. The team in general is really good, though. I love the Saros Olmark. I've done that a couple of times. And then really tapped into a bit of high upside center to at least supplement. I don't know if I would have taken Stützle and Pinto. That kind of seems like you've bet on both of them, and one of them's going to get there, and you don't have a lot of center already, so you kind of needed a bit more. But maybe you're an Ottawa Senators fan. You took Sanderson too. I don't know. It's not the end of the world, but I like the team in general. I just don't think I'm taking Pinto on the same roster. Like I'm probably just taking any other center to end it and hoping that they get there because I don't know how Pinto and Stützle both get there together.
Yeah, that's no team. I think they got 2 4-game weeks in the finals, so maybe that's what he was thinking.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. I like the bet in general, like a Stützle, Olmark, Sanderson bet. Like I love that, but I think adding the one more piece is just like I don't know. There were more centers out there. I
would probably go with a center from a different team.
So Draisaitl at 8. I think this is where he's going to comfortably land. I just strongly disagree in general with the Leon Hyman Bouchard situation. I'm probably just not tapping Hyman there. I'm taking maybe I will. I don't know. I haven't taken Draisaitl yet, and I might not even at 8. And I feel like if I'm not taking him at 8, I'm giving myself a chance to get someone better than Hyman. If I end up taking him at 9, 10, or 11 when that opportunity arises, but going just all the way in and then adding Jeff Skinner later, just kind of feels like you're betting on a bunch of pieces in Edmonton that aren't going to come together very easily. You can make an argument on the power play, but Skinner just should never play with Draisaitl. But I guess bet on Edmonton, whatever. It's not a bad team, but I think just lacking at the wing position overall through the draft and betting on some pieces at the end, which I'm not betting on in Huberdeau or Goose Nyquist. Like Nyquist died, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, Huberdeau, Giroux, Skinner, like a lot of bounce guys, and then he took Vetrano quite early. He's falling, but he should be falling another 2 months still, I think.
Yep. Haven't taken Vetrano yet. Haven't taken Giroux. I mean, Giroux. I do think Giroux is fine there. I'm not gonna get mad about that pick all that much. Like I have some guys before him, but not many. Where I went with Sharon Govich, and I had Velarde and maybe Zuccarello or Arvidsson, but no big deal. Just I think the end result of this team, it didn't get there, and it was really close. But I'm never gonna start with this 3-man Edmonton. I think it's gonna be really popular and just kind of feels like fool's gold. We can get to McCurds. He has been in he was the last person to say anything in the chat, so he's still here, and I want to service my handful of viewers as much as possible. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that Edmonton thing, though? I don't want to completely jip you on that. Like, are you?
I know. I mean, I'm not going to do it often. That's for sure.
Okay.
What's their schedule like in the playoffs? 3 game weeks in the final. I don't know.
Another round one. Yeah. 3-3. I don't know. Not that interested in it. I don't really even care. Again, I'm talking about the finals as much as it's like. I guess I can see the first 3, but then I'm just not tapping another guy, because if you're doing that 3, you're basically saying that they have committed to McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman as a first line, and they're rolling Nugent Hopkins with Arvidsson and Skinner, which feels so thin to me, but people believe that could be the case. I definitely am just not tapping on these ancillary pieces because they're just not getting there in that sort of a window. Anyways, we'll get to McCurds. Kaprizov at 9 is great value. That's definitely the guy I would have taken as well. Going Makar, again, he just shouldn't slip much past 16, if anything. The top 2 defensemen, I think, are in a class of their own. And then, I do think Dahlin is right just a touch outside. Demko, definitely the best goalie still available. I debate him and Sorokin, but I do think I've just completely switched now to 100% on Demko. I don't even know why I had that debate. I feel like I've just been galaxy brained into thinking Sorokin's like a top 3 goalie in the league, and that's not how their coach sees it. Verhaeghe, fine. Kyrou, I'm really high on. Are you high on Kyrou? Is that a guy that you're?
I like Kyrou. I think he was my most drafted player last year, and he kind of bombed.
Yep.
But I haven't taken him yet. I think this is where he should go, so I will definitely get a good amount of him.
Yeah, I think him and Svechnikov are the last of that class, and that's where ADP is going to end up getting to, so I'm down with it. Goes with Eriksson Ek, a guy that I was going to be incredibly high on until his ADP actually came out and shocked everyone, including myself. But Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, all good. Kyrou, Buchnevich, again, I've done that quite a bit as well. Aiden Hill, still at 88, I think it's a good value. I was kind of considering him versus Aho, but I already had taken Markstrom, so I'm like, I just can't triple the goalies before round 8. But yeah, Aiden Hill still, I think, a value there at 88. Brian Rust, I'm high on. Gunther, I'm high on. Morgan Riley, I'm not as high on, but I'm not mad about it. I guess you already have Makar, so bet on a good offense. Lindholm, I'm high on. Wolf, I'm indifferent on. Barbashev, I'm probably not taking, but he did get power play run last year and could still be tethered to Eichel in power play 1. Darnell Nurse, to get a life, I'm just not drafting him, and then Turtle's fine.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I would draft at the end. I mean, Edmonton is deeper, like their forward group is deeper now, so I think that's good for Nurse. He's still not going to get top power play ever. So you just want a guy that can kind of, get some blocks and hits, and he'll score sometimes. But I think this guy's in our group is a little underwhelming, and you got to get some top production from the center. I mean, Eriksson Ek, I expect that he'll come down a little bit from production from last year, but yeah, I mean, he was really good last year. I still think he's going a little bit too high, but Hurdle's a guy I like, and I think he could return value in that. Like he could be around those Hintz, Suzuki, Robert Thomas, Brock Nelson, especially if he plays with Michael.
Yeah, I really feel like everything on this team is good. It just feels like, again, you took Cale Makar, right? If Darnell Nurse is outscoring Cale Makar more than like once, you're probably really in bad shape. Like you might as well just buy in on someone crazy like Olin Zellweger. Like I would just go nuts. Like that's maybe just me being me, but I just don't know if I'm ever gonna side on that. But everything else,
what's best case for Zellweger? Is it like a Luke Hughes, or like who are the young D-men who ever do that? Like these guys never really end up being very relevant. So I don't know about Zellweger.
What if he's the first? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
What if? Yeah, could be. What if Buffalo Sabres are good?
Yeah. Let's not get carried away. No, I think the difference between Zellweger is that he proved it at the AHL first and wasn't rushed right into the NHL and dominated in San Diego. And then when he came in, it took a minute, but towards the end of the year, it was like, okay, this is the guy we expected. So I don't think it's a 1-for-1 with some of these top guys. He's a little bit older. He's had more time to marinate. And I think they now put him in the perfect power play one position. And it's kind of a bet on that entire team. So I am a little bit higher on him than maybe others. I haven't drafted him yet, so I'm a bit of a fraud, but I keep wanting to draft him quite a bit. So I don't know. I just think I take a stab on someone a little bit higher ceiling. Honestly, on a Luke Hughes, like he's still there. And Dougie Hamilton has been, coming off a pretty bad injury. Like I would just bet on any of those guys. I'm not sure if I'm going Lane Hudson yet for the similar reason you're kind of bringing up, but I'm just taking a bigger bet than Darnell Nurse, who is just only going to get worse, in my opinion, like in fantasy. Like he's clearly not that good. Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, even like Ekholm is better than Nurse. I think we saw Ekholm had a couple at the end of the year. I mean, guys like Nurse, I don't know if you think you're kind of fragile and you just want that can kind of hit your floor, but he doesn't really get those weeks as often as you think. I'm not going to be drafting very much of him either.
Yeah, and took Wolf and Jesus Harrison. I tend to agree with that, and like I'm gonna start getting some Dustin Wolf, but I'm these are the three goalies I've been like. I keep queuing and just I either get Harrison or Korchekov, and I just haven't taken Wolf yet, but totally fine with it. And then someone sniped you on Hurdle. That's a tough day at the office because Leo Carlson's fine, honestly. I really don't mind that, but I just think Ryan O'Reilly is. You didn't like. I took Forsberg. Like I know you have Barchesel, but I'm just not betting on that correlation. My team, they did the Forsberg Yossi, like all the slappies last year who got there. Sorokin, I still think he's like. I think you could put a hole in anyone after Demko as like there's a reason for a bit of skepticism. I just am still betting on Sorokin being one of the best goalies in the world, and Varlamov is getting older. Ovechkin, definitely at that point, got to take him. Svechnikov, again, I'm betting on him getting back to form and being very useful. Markstrom, I know they have Jake Allen, but you don't trade a first-round pick if it's not your starting goalie. And New Jersey, like I said, is a cup contender. Like I know they missed the playoffs last year, but they're definitely going to be much improved. And if they are as good as we think they are, and Markstrom gets 60, 70%, not maybe 70, Jesus, but he gets enough starts, like he's going to be very useful. I already went over McCann. I clearly when betting on Carolina with Aho. Patrick Kane, again, I think he's actually very good. So I was proven wrong and right last year. Like he didn't actually kill me in any capacity by fully fading, but he should have. So I'm going to be just right back on in this range. Carlson, Hintz, I mean, not much to be said. Sharangovich, I think Kim and Velarde are just in a class above most other guys in this range, in my opinion. 30 goal upside we saw last year, kind of all encompassing power play one, etc. On a bad team that just doesn't, there's a couple prospects that might feed in a bit, but no one that's going to take his rollover, and they paid him hefty to keep him around. Harrison, I've said 1,000 times. Harley, I mean, again, it's just like, you got to be freaking kidding me with this guy. He was the 8th leading defenseman in goal scoring, I believe, or whatever, and it was pretty close between the next couple. Duren is a bet on Colorado. I'm going to be betting on him and Lehkonen. I like Lehkonen more. Lehkonen was gone. Went kind of early at 121. Kind of shocked me. So I just made sure I had Duren written down, and then Logan Cooley gone over. Yep. No problems with my team. Perfect, right?
Yeah, absolutely perfect. No, you take a lot of guys that, I'm kind of targeting right now, and then I think we just have some guys near the end. I mean, Ottawa's going to have to be pretty good for you, I think. Like I said, I like hints at where he's going quite a bit. But yeah, you're going to have to, I think, make up your center production at the other position, but you're set up pretty nicely to do that. And you got a couple nice little power plays with your D there. So
I'm going to speed run the last two teams because I'm being told I need to wrap this up now. The Chuck Hughes, this honestly, I loved this team as I was watching with Broncos. Just the Chuck, Caulfield, DeBrincat, a little bit of a concern on DeBrincat, but not bad. Loved the every pick here though. UPL buying on upside. Just probably not drafting Mark Stone. He's probably. I think they're going to kind of put someone out there, and then AC Elliott. I believe he could be here, maybe not, but might watch this later. This is the double tap I'm doing. Pedersen is the perfect guy. This is exactly what the drafter did last time, and I was going over how much I loved it. Still got Ottinger, which is kind of crazy to me. Dobson, I probably would have waited on, but definitely Tage is going to be really, really useful. Got enough goaltending. I just think at the end here, I just hate dusty guys like this. But again, they got there last year and they could get there again. Not enough on defense, so I guess I get why you do this and build out a bit more potential. But yeah, I think if anywhere I'm going to be limiting myself, it is at defense. So
I think he's trying to build a little more floor there when he takes Truman at Cole. I don't think he'll for upside, and I think he has lots of upside with Dobson and Matheson. So Dobson's not my favorite target at that price, but I do like I like Matheson there quite a bit, and I would take probably just a higher upside DMAT and not take 4.
All right. Well, let me just open the floor really quickly. Is there anything I don't even know because I didn't even ask before we did this, but are you plugging anything? Are you doing anything these days in the best ball space, or just finding in the Discord?
No, not really. I've thought of probably, putting some articles out, maybe some ranks, doing something like that. We'll see if I mean, I'm not sure. Not sure I'll get it, but it's I have some ideas of some stuff I want to do. Other than that, I'll be maxing some whatever else they give us for Bell. I love the best ball format. It's a ton of fun, man. It's just the best way to fantasy and to put some skin game behind your opinions. Aside from just make your own bets, but the best ball stuff is a lot more fun. You get community and stuff like that. So I'll be drafting lots. Not this weekend, so I'm going to Boston for the first time tomorrow morning. So looking forward to that. And then, when I get back, I'll get into it and then kind of, save some for September and October. But I'll be in there pretty consistently.
The streets are clear. Okay, this is perfect. Thank you for letting me know. Now I know to draft all weekend. Definitely get in all the Discords. You're in Morningscape Pod. You're in the Deposit Kingdom. Anything you come out with, let me know, and maybe we'll do this again. If you want to run it back, definitely want to draft again. As we get closer, rankings will change, things will move, and we have a lot of stuff coming from us. And the community is only going to build. And like I said last time, with more people getting involved, making hockey a priority, talking about how we all want to be in making the contest as big and as great as it can be, and more contests out there. So thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for being around. And the rake back is coming for drafts done before 9/5. So get them in now because they will be included in the rake back for best ball in general for the NFL.
Yeah, are you maxing BBM? Or are you hitting NFL?
Not sure yet. I think my plan is 100. I don't know if I'm going to full max this year. I just don't think I'm going to have time, honestly. At the end of the day, I'm starting a new job next week, actually, and I'm just I'm never going to be able to that. That's why I'm going crazy on the cardio club right now. I had a little time off in between. So that's why I've been drafting all day. But yeah, let me let you go. It's 10:15, 3 hours and 15 minutes. If you were here the whole time, holy shit. But yeah, thanks for joining again. And we'll talk soon. So yeah, get in the Discord.
Yep.
And thanks. Yeah, thanks to the current king. I was hoping you'd wear a crown, but we'll have to get you one. So yeah, thanks for jumping in.
All right, thanks.